You win.
Who are you guys?
We're you, dude!
You're metal, dude!
Dudes!
Deliberate. Delivering. Delivering dogfish. Delivering dogfish. I'm the dude.
Well, that was an interesting.
Yeesh, man! My entire system seized up like freaking frightened family of raccoons. You pull right up onto a picnic table, right up. Yeah, it was.
Mercury must be in retrograde.
It was.
It's
frozen.
just stationing. It's just stationing. We're just getting out of it. We're just about to get out of it.
I was being assaulted by vibrations out of.
It doesn't want to let go.
Right. Capricorn. I don't know.
Well, tonight we got. Hey, all. What's up, Brian? What's up, Nicholas? Jason Talbot. We got a nice one for you guys tonight. Thomas got a hold of us, and him and Noah have exchanged some hot words. Noah over here smokes sage and is surrounded by crystals right now and is feeling.
I literally was burning sage earlier. My special Jupiter blend earlier tonight. Not just sage, but my special magical Jupiter blend. You're a little psychic. Oh my goodness, we're getting into the woo woo here.
I am happy to see you, and yes, that is a rock in my pocket.
And so tonight we're going to debate whether astrology or is real. And Noah here is on the pro side. I don't know who else is on the pro side.
I think he's the only professional on the panel.
He's the only professional.
Debatable, but.
And I'll take the role of I think that it's a bunch of crap. I think that astrology is essentially something that anyone could really do because it's so vague and so generic that you can kind of like retrofit anything to mean something at some point. So, and I think that I'm going to even do double duty tonight. I'm gonna also prove that capitalism is the ultimate thing that will define whether or not something is real.
Ah,
All right.
I can do two different avenues tonight.
All right. Bold claim, sir. Bold claim.
I can't even respond
ready.
to the first claim because you're already throwing out something totally irrelevant. So yeah, I see your debate strategy. All right. Okay.
well,
And it's not for you. I know that I'm playing to the audience and not playing to you. So I've already got an upper hand.
Well, Thomas had me on his show to like talk about astrology and all this stuff, and I thought we were buds. I thought it was a good time. I thought I made some good points. And all of a sudden in the stream, he's like, "Yeah, maybe 20% real, probably stupid. I'm gonna
That
win."
was being generous too, because I knew you might have been watching. So yeah, I gave it like a 20%. Like, I don't know, maybe I believe in astrology 20%. It might be closer to like 5%.
Oh,
so what's happened is Thomas on his show, The Paranoid American, had Noah on, and Noah talked about astrology, and then Thomas said, I don't necessarily buy what you're selling. And now we're gonna have
I like to be supportive because my interviews, I don't like to make them about me, but in the comments, yeah, I was like, yeah, I don't know if I really buy it. And then I guess Noah gets offended. Noah's offended because he's a Scorpio.
And did you really just sit there and explain the exact same thing that Thomas sat there and explained before you? Yeah.
I'm John Madden. I'm John Madden tonight.
Ben.
I'm John Madden tonight.
We'll keep it clean because I know there's a lot of children in this audience.
Well, the thing about good football.
That's good to know. Well, I mean, me and Thomas are both Gemini sons, so we're doing that duality of Gemini thing where we're each on other sides.
We're battling ourselves.
And if we're witty enough, we'll
that
want
like a 69?
have more fun on the other side. So.
So there are 4 people on the debate. It's both of you and your Gemininus, your Gemininity.
It's Gemininity.
Yeah.
I'm trying to lose it by the end of the episode.
Are you in your divine Geminin, Thomas?
I mean, I think that I live it to its fullest extent as far as that goes, which is nonsense. So yeah, I live nonsense.
You seem like you're glowing, my friend. You do. I mean, every time I see you, you are, but tonight in particular.
We're cooking, man. We're cooking because this is a topic passionate to me that so many people use to kind of like live their lives, and that's one of the most important things you can do, right? To get someone to completely change their pattern of living and their viewpoint, and this is one of those.
Yeah, but that's not the point of astrology. The point isn't to change your pattern of living; it's to align to the higher potentials of your natal chart, because everyone's living their natal chart and what it applies already. So what you're trying to do is figure out, how am I going to do this in the best possible way where I'm going to feel a more meaningful life and be a better person for the people around me, which you're not doing by, bringing me on your show and then dissing me in the comments.
Well, I would argue that it's exactly what I stated, is that it is a way to change your life, because the very basis for astrology is basically a farmer's almanac. Is to teach you when you're supposed to plant crops and how you're supposed to expect seasons to change. And somewhere in between 2,000 years, it's now supposed to be a psychological tool and a predictor that can predict something other than just what meteorology is essentially replaced, right? Astronomy and meteorology have largely completely. Otherwise, why don't we just use the farmer's almanac for therapy?
Well, okay. So let's go back to your point about the farmer's almanac, which first off does use astrology to make their predictions, right? So the astrology is a key part of the farmer's almanac. So if you're trying to say the farmer's almanac is a diss,
no, I'm saying why not use the farmer's almanac as like a psychological therapeutic tool if they're one and the same? If the pattern of stars and astrology has something to do with what I would probably ascribe to neurology for the most part, right? Something that would shape the very behavior and the way that you're interacting, almost in like a seasonal version. Like, I would say Big Pharma probably has more proof and evidence and repeatable experiments than astrology ever could.
Okay, so the actual birth of modern astrology as we know it goes back to Babylonia, right? Or Chaldea, okay? Which was, they were taking precise measurements of everything that happened, the price of wheat, the price of grain, what happened to the king that day, wars, everything, along with everything that was happening in the sky, the motions of the moon, the sun, and the 5 planets that they could witness, the heliacal rising of various stars. Okay, and they were mapping that to everything. These records still exist. This is not lost to time. This was not burned with Alexandria, right? We have this. And that's where the birth of what we know of astrology is today was an empirical science. It was literally tracking everything to the movement of the heavens. Now, you're saying, oh, well, you have to assume everything's connected. Yes, everything's connected. We live in a synchronistic universe.
Okay, if on that note though, what does the position of the sun...
Hold on one second. Let's give Noah air here to make an entire claim. Make your claim outright.
Also, do you guys have like an opening that you want to do?
Yeah.
Or you just in here throwing elbow?
No,
Like,
let's just do this.
Way. I'm done. You know, if you want a traditional fight, that's fine. If you just want to, you know, flop them out and then Marcus will, you know, scurry up with a measuring tape in his mouth.
I'm sure we'll peter out. We're coming in hot.
We'll
be peter out a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not hot
Ready
yet.
to go.
Please.
Ready to go.
Well, let me just tease it out a little bit because I think I can prompt exactly what you're talking about. But I want you to explain, and if there's a specific claim that you can make there, what does the position of the sun in an ancient Middle Eastern cycle for harvesting have to do with the personality of someone born in Chicago 2025?
I mean, okay, so if you're coming at it from a strictly scientific materialist perspective, you're going to have a hard time with this. Although I do have answers for that as well. You have to come from it from the concept that we live in a mystical synchronistic universe where everything connects and everything is symbolic and everything is connected to the spirit world, which is connected to our imagination, which is connected to dreams. It's all one thing, right? And these are different layers of reality that communicate with us through symbology and through subjective means, okay? Now, if you're talking about the position of the sun, of course it makes a difference. Because if you're born in the winter, okay, you're born in a time where everyone's stressed out, everyone's depressed, everyone's lacking sun. I mean, in the northern hemisphere, right? I'm talking northern hemisphere.
Those are some absolutes that I don't know if I would accept right off the bat. Not everyone in the northern hemisphere is having a bad Christmas. There's plenty of people living in some nice houses during Christmas that aren't necessarily having to deal with climate change.
I mean,
whoa, I can't handle it.
Well, no, I mean real climate change, not the political version, but like it just because it gets colder and they put the heat on and their warmed driveway heats up, so they don't even have to worry about ice forming on the driveway. Those particular people aren't really suffering when you say everyone. So everyone is too much of an absolute to actually be relevant.
No, but there is a mood decrease in almost everyone due to lack of sun. I mean, that's not debate. Are we debating that? We could just do sun debate if you want. I could go to that.
Well, keep going. I don't accept that, but I'm going to let you
scientifically and physically, when you don't get sunlight, you get depressed. That's why England, Portland, all those places where they have lack of sun, lack of vitamin D, they get depression. I'm not sure how that ties to astrology, but that is a scientific fact that we need sun to produce vitamin D. It's just how it works.
Right, and I don't know if astrology is allowed to claim sunlight. Like it doesn't own sunlight, so
it
astrology
literally
has
is
to
all
be its
about
own
sunlight.
thing.
It literally is all about sunlight. So if we don't get to talk about sunlight, he's like, "Listen, we're gonna have this debate on my terms. Astrologers can't talk about the sun. That's mine. That's science."
No, I'm saying you can talk about the sun, but the sun can't be like an actual objective thing that we can study. I guess would be how much sunlight you get. For example, there was like a fun conspiracy relevant study where the military was capturing penguins and extracting their pineal glands, and it's like turned into like weird sort of fringe research. But if you look into that actual research, what they were being able to tell was that the pineal glands of the penguins, when they lived in 24 hours of darkness, or like when these long stretches of darkness and they get no sunlight for weeks or months on end, that their pineal gland generates way more melatonin. And that once they figured this out, then they actually have like an objective scientific, here is how the sun objectively changes how your brain works, and you're going to have more melatonin in your system for these periods, and that does alter your mood. So all of that has absolutely nothing to do with astrology. That's something that you can actually objectively study and say this is like a biological phenomenon. So I would just like to say, like, what is the equivalent objective version of that where astrology gets to be the thing and not just the amount of sunlight triggers something in the brain?
Yeah, but it's all one. See, you're trying to like break it down into different sectors, but it's all one thing. Okay, astrology speaks to that specifically before people knew what melatonin was, because in the 2 darkest months of the year, I mean, actually, we're in the darkest month of the year, the Sagittarius month, leading into the winter solstice, where we're getting less and less sunlight every day, and then it builds up through Capricorn, right? But things get colder because heat follows the light. Heat comes after the light, right? When the light decreases, it gets colder and colder, and when the light comes back, the heat follows the light, right? The light brings the heat. Okay, so the 2 coldest months of the year, which are 2 of the darkest months of the year, are what fall. The 2 months fall. I don't want to use January and February. I'm talking astrology. So Capricorn and Aquarius. Okay, the 2 coldest months of the year are ruled by Saturn, and the entire meaning of Saturn is to put the energy back into the root. Okay, the plants have died. All the energy that you gather from the sun, that the leaves have gathered from the sun all summer, have to go back and put everything into the roots so they can survive the next year. Okay, at least for a perennial. Okay, and what you're talking about is in the winter, more melatonin is produced. What does melatonin do? It helps you sleep. So the human being is replicating because it's all one system. We're all sympathetically resonating the exact same stories. Okay, so in January and February, people want to sleep more. They just want to be inside. They want to get cozy with their families. And if you align with the time of the season, which is all Saturn things, then you're going to have a better time. Maybe you're not going to get depressed. Maybe you're not going to get miserable. But being depressed and miserable also directly correlate to Saturn. So you see how the actual science of lack of sun connects to the astrological signs.
If you're explaining astrology as it's just a mnemonic device for something else that exists, then I guess we are on the same page of all of this.
Okay, but these things existed before the science proved it correct. Do you understand that?
I believe the patterns did, but I guess the premise that I've understood astrology to be is that astrology itself has some sort of mystical reading, and it's not just a memory device to memorize what the different progressions in the stars are, especially since, depending on your viewpoint, you've got Vedic and you've got typical Western, you've got, all sorts of different versions that don't necessarily line up one for one. In fact, even the stars that get included in some of these constellations are so far away from each other, and a lot of the earlier astrology was based on the Earth being the center of the universe. And we're not going to get into like a whole flat Earth, Gaia kind of thing, right? Like, are we on a ball? Can I at least ask that? We're on a ball, right?
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
Okay, so even the constellations themselves are pretty much all retrofitted to describe existing phenomenon. So that existing phenomenon pre-exists astrology, right? It predates astrology itself. So therefore, astrology was really just like a Cliff's Notes. It's kind of like a cheat sheet for someone before they actually figured out, okay, this is a season. Oh, this pineal gland is generating more melatonin because of the lack of sunlight. And as you make those specific objective discoveries that you can repeat and you can point at, like, it kind of takes that away from astrology. Like, astrology is no longer relevant because now we have an actual objective explanation for something and not just Mercury was in retrograde.
Well, obviously astrology is relevant if I can predict things accurately, and if I can look at someone's chart and start telling them things about who they are and how they process reality. And I mean, we can get into it's too general or whatever.
We'll have to. Yeah, it's the Barnum-Forer effect, and we do have to get into the Barnum-Forer effect.
Well, okay, so we'll get to that later because I want to sort of address what you were saying, which is that it is a subjective art. Okay, it's a science and an art form. Okay, because the science is exactly where everything is in the sky, and we can calculate it. And basically, we don't even have astronomy without astrology, because if it didn't have meaning to human beings, the most brilliant minds in the world wouldn't have been researching it. And it was astrologers who discovered we were living on a globe and realized via the retrograde motions that it made more sense that we were orbiting around the sun, and it was a subjective viewpoint to the planets. Sorry, you were going to say something, Alderson?
The signs that we're using today weren't always the signs that were used.
Okay, so there's a difference between the constellations and the signs. These are two separate things. So what Thomas referenced was Vedic astrology uses sidereal, which tracks to the actual stars. Okay, so yes, the stars precess every 72 years, which aligns with the human life. Okay, it aligns with a basic human life. The stars will move 1 degree in our sky away from the tropical seasons. So what most astrologers and Western astrology use is tropical astrology because it's tied to the seasons. The zodiac itself is defined by the sun. The stars are, oh man. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how far I want to take this at this stage, or whether I want to
Go
get
all
to
the
that.
way, man. When else are you gonna do it?
Balls deep.
All right, the stars are conscious beings, and they're all independent conscious beings, and they're entities which demons, angels, and anything else can be summoned through. Okay, now because astrology is a subjective art, okay, because we're viewing it from.
Hold on, can you clarify? They are the angels and demons, or through them somehow, like a portal inside them or something, you can summon angels and demons. Which one are you saying?
Both.
You're saying both.
Yeah, like in some traditions, the 4 royal guardian stars, which is Fomalhaut, Antares, Regulus, and Aldebaran, are the 4 guardian angels in the archangels in the Bible. Okay, so they're literally in the Bible when they're talking about those archangels, they're talking about these stars. Okay, but also there are all kinds of energies which come through these stars and affect us and interact with us. So
are the angels stars and the demons wandering in this system?
Sorry, what?
Are the angels fixed stars and the demons wandering in this system?
Well, they're fixed stars means basically the stars that don't move. I mean, it depends on what you mean by that. Because in astrology, we use fixed stars as just the stars in the heavens, period. Right?
Right. The fixed stars don't. The fixed stars dance around Polaris in a perfect procession.
I see what you're saying.
The wandering stars are different. They don't do that.
Right. They have their own.
So like in Gnostic traditions, that's like the archons is your wandering stars.
Right.
And so that separates them that's what I'm asking in this system you're talking about. Are the angels in a fixed position, the angelic stars, and then the wandering stars, the demonic ones?
It's more pluralistic than that, right? There are so many different systems, so many different ways to look at it. And yeah, the wandering stars have more of an impression on us because they're moving. You know, they have more of a direct input into what's going on. It's harder to get to the fixed stars because they're past Saturn, right? Saturn is the boundary and the barrier of our reality. And so you have to get past Saturn in order to have any access to the fixed stars.
I just want to get you to help rectify something for me. So you described that astrology is a subjective art, and then you also mentioned that there's just so many different ways to look at it, so many different ways to interpret things. So with that being an acknowledgement, how can you be objective about anything? How can someone not just get into astrology brand new and just kind of be ignorant about it, but still they could be right on the money, just because if it's a subjective art that has many different perspectives, what would even differentiate someone that, say, knows what they're doing and someone that just claims to have instinct but doesn't actually know what the hell they're doing? They're just making it up.
I mean, it's possible they could, because different cultures have had different relationships to the sky, you know. But however, my experience with astrology is it is a Saturnine art, okay? And Saturn rules slow forming, rigid structures, okay? So there are cultures from around the world who all have their own independent connection to all of this and their own independent thoughts about it. You learn a system, you honor the ancestors, which Saturn does, right? And when you get to the point where you've done the research and you understand, because first off, you have to understand the motion of the planets and the stars. If you don't understand that, you can't be an astrologer. So you already have to have devoted time to learning how the movement actually works, okay, and be able to predict it, right? And then at that point, there's a more mercurial element of inspiration which can come in, and it can become an art. So it's a science to start. If you don't do the scientific portion of it, you're not going to get to the art.
Let me ask you this part of it too. Do you give the same weight and credibility to like gravity and DNA and basic anatomy? Do you think, or is astrology somehow supersede having knowledge of those things because it's more holistic? That if you understand astrology, that you wouldn't necessarily have to become a specialist in all the different things that astrology is supposed to be affecting?
Well, past astrologers would be doctors, right? Like doctors in Europe used to be astrologers, and in other societies to this day are astrologers as well, because everything in the heavens has a correlation in the body.
Right. Great. Okay, that's actually a great point that I would like to just piggyback on. That if this were a medieval debate about astrology, then I think that it would almost be a debate about astrology and astronomy. But once astronomy actually becomes mainstream, and that you're no longer putting your life at risk to claim, like the actual astronomy that was being studied during the Age of Enlightenment that came after these Middle Ages. But if you were to actually acknowledge that aspect of it, that I just think that once astronomy is created, it separates from astrology. So now the more discoveries being made, the more and more astrology is turning into like a subjective art as opposed to some kind of an objective science that you can actually cite evidence of. Like if you mentioned that predictions that come true, but are these retrofitted predictions, or are they vague predictions that you're conveniently able to retroactively ascribe to different signs and things that were happening?
And quickly, if you want to put a link in the chat, Cheney, if you want to come in on Noah's side, we're staying kind of quiet because he's getting dogpiled because apparently his partner could not smoke enough sage and is passed out in some bath salts or something, and so he needs help. And then we can Royal Rumble this. So it's not
derogatory defamation against whoever my partner was supposed to be.
He had a serious reaction to some arugula. And couldn't join us this evening.
It's a spicy leaf. It's a spicy leaf.
Talk to me when it's salvia.
That's a spicy leaf.
That's a whole other discussion.
That's spicy. I did that once. I did it a couple times, but I did the 80x once. I won't be doing that again.
So we've moved into the potpourri talk.
Well,
the herbalism. Let's keep this focused.
I want to get a legitimate temperature check from everybody. If you if you all had to rate astrology's credibility from 1 to 10, can everyone just give like an honest answer so we can just see what the temperature of the room is?
So 0 credibility to 10 credibility?
Correct. Yeah.
I'm going to go with 3.
5.
I'm sitting at like a 1.7.
Okay. And I think that I'm probably at around like being a generous, like a 2.
Oh, it used to be 3. Oh my God, this is going really bad for me.
we got a 10 in the chat.
Yeah, put your numbers in chat. We'll see if they
we
change.
got a 7 in the chat. Another 7 from James Maiden.
See, I was for sure that there was going to be like some more 10s up in here. Are you Noah? Are you a 10, or are you like a
yeah? No,
8 or a 9?
But I started from being not believing it. Like that's the thing.
Okay, what was the thing? What was the one thing that kicked you off the fence and say like,
right.
you know what, this is real?
Well, it's not just one thing, right? Like it's like my parents were friends with a really prominent astrologer. Okay, so but they were like born again Christians. They were like hippies who became born again Christians, but they kept their hippie friends in their life, right? Like they weren't phony Christians. They didn't kick the occult out of their life. They let it breathe. And so, he was part of my life. He wasn't really allowed to talk about astrology with me much, but he gave some seeds. And I was like, whatever. I mean, mostly
Coriolis comes in at an 8. That's our first member, so we got to call him out.
Nice. So at any rate, I mean, I used to make fun of this stuff for sure. Like I was, but I mean, I love this close family friend, Raman Armstrong.
When you say that you made fun of it, where were you at then? If you had to rate it from 0 to 10 again, where were you at that point?
Like astrology specifically?
Yeah, astrology specifically.
I think I was always at a 5 maybe or something because honestly, when you see that the moon and the sun are the exact same size in the sky, it's like, that's like, you got to be absolutely loony to think that's a coincidence. Like I don't even understand how people.
But why is astrology the natural, conclusion of, hey, this isn't a coincidence, therefore astrology is real? I don't understand that final bridge.
Well, that's the history of astrology, right? And this is not documented history, but this is how it works. because astrology is determined by the movements of the sun and the moon, and that teaches us about what the zodiac is. Because every time the moon does a conjunction to the sun, which is a new moon, and an opposition to the sun, which is a full moon, and comes back around to the new moon, that determines the length of one zodiac sign, essentially. These aren't perfect relationships, right? Just like 360 degrees in a circle, but we have 365 days. Okay, everything's rough because you never get the exact same moment again. It all rhymes. It rhymes, but it's not a copy-paste thing, right? So the movements of the sun and the moon, you have a luminary, that the light at night and the light during the day explain the signs. And the vibe of the season, what the sun feels like in your region, tells you what those signs mean. Okay? And so Leo and Cancer are these warm signs, these warm, loving, very open signs, because it's warm. The sun is high in the sky. The sun is your heart, your creative heart, right? Whereas when the sun is low down on the horizon, that's Saturn rule. That's cold, and Capricorn and Aquarius are much colder people and much more reserved emotionally. Okay. And now it's the connection between the sun and the moon which starts to teach this. Okay. And it's also the angles we use in astrology, the aspects we call them, are all learned from the sun and the moon, their relationship. The conjunction when things are dark is the beginning. It's the seed moment of a new era. It's a new anything. Anytime two planets come together, that's a conjunction, right? And it can be a stressful moment, but something seeded. And every month, and you can do this, you can use it, right? Like you can use when there's a new moon, you seed something and you can see it blossom and flower at the full moon. That's the flower. That's where whatever you seeded in the darkness grows up into the light. And that's the exact same thing of the light cycle of the sun, where you plant a seed in the darkness, and when the sun's at its fullest, you get the flower.
Okay, let me piggyback off that one, because that's a very specific claim, I think. And I guess doing my double duty is that I feel that if this were universal, that someone going
Dr. Longo,
something going,
that would be funny.
I called him. We were talking earlier before, but he said he couldn't make it. He had something else he had to do tonight.
Did you have to go to a barbecue?
Yeah, barbecue now.
Do you have his birth chart ready to go to roast him?
Well, that actually would be an awesome idea for a show where you just roast somebody based on their birth chart, like something they have no control over.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue a little bit, because I have another thought that I want to squeeze in.
Well, what were you going to say about that? You had a comment and then you got interrupted, and so I don't know what you were going to comment on that.
Yeah, what was? Can we rewind the tape?
Well, basically, I'm talking about the aspect cycle. So you're saying what? This is going back to why does the sun and the moon being the exact same size from Earth mean so much in astrology? Because it was actually what taught astrology.
Oh, okay, right. So the double duty though is that I feel that if we were to see this cycle of the thing gets planted in the shadows and then it grows and blossoms at the end of this cycle, then you would see this in the markets. You would see it in some other repeatable way where you can pinpoint. And then if that were the case, though, that if you could time the markets based on astrology, then this would be something that would turn into an actual science and something that would be taught to stock traders or taught to anyone making like financial endeavors, right? Or
Are you unaware that there are people who make their living doing financial astrology? Like,
I'm sure they are, but that doesn't mean that this makes it an exact science. The same way that the original stock ticker symbols, right? The whole like this was based on how much rice was being sold after battles, and then all of a sudden those symbols turn into, well, when you see this doji, then it means like this other thing's going to happen. But that's the same aspect of someone trying to predict the price of Bitcoin based on how many memes are hitting like 777 on 4chan, right? It's like this prophetic way. And I mean, would your opinion be that has any relevance too? Is there any, like, if everything's connected and everything's all one, would like a post that ends on 47s mean something's more true than not if it were on 4chan?
Well, I don't know about the 47 thing. I mean, I'm not big into numerology, but yeah, like it all works. Like, I mean, like Alex K will give me like he'll post about what his next crypto K date is, and I'll look at the astrology and I'll be like, yeah, that makes sense. Like I see what you're saying, and he has a pretty good track record of pointing out big things, right? So yeah, it's all connected. You can nexus all these different things into astrology.
Alex K's not here to help you, my friend.
Well, it's just an example. You know what I'm talking about, so that's why I'm bringing him up. You know,
I guess
somebody please come help Noah.
I don't want to get into like what the definition of is sort of like linguistic tangle, but I really do. I want to understand then that how, like, what specifically is astrology? If astrology is everything, then astrology is nothing. So
no, I'm saying no. I'm saying it does connect to everything, because every single moment has a chart, and it's a different chart everywhere in the world, and that chart can mean a million different things.
Okay,
right?
okay. So let's say we oversimplify it. Let's just say that there's 3 types of astrology, and well aware there's way more than that.
Chart can mean a million different things.
Yes.
How is there any objectiveness to that?
This is the problem, is that it's both objective and subjective, right? So let me put it this way. Okay, a woman is giving birth to a child. Okay. And
so like what? This is like reading prophecy, though, where you just start slotting shit in where it fits. If you're saying there's a million outcomes, then basically you're going, oh, look, here's this one, and you have a million choices to overlay onto it to claim correctness.
You do have a million choices, and that's the challenge of the art, right? Of using it to get forward and get correct predictions. It's challenging. Okay, so let me explain it this way. Okay, a woman's giving birth. The moment that child takes its first breath, it has a chart in that moment. At the same moment, a mouse is giving birth, okay, in the corner of the room. That baby mouse also has that same natal chart. They're obviously not going to live the same life. They're going to have completely different experiences. And yet there will be symbolic resonances between the life of that baby mouse and the life of that baby. Now, a corporation could be founded at the same moment. That also has a natal chart, and that natal chart will describe the promise of that corporation at the exact same time. It's not going to be the same thing as a baby, right?
Well, can I needle a little bit on the corporation that gets founded? So,
yep.
Where, like, geographically, if I'm in the U.S. but I was raised in India, right? Am I using Vedic astrology if I live in the US, but I was from India, or am I using Western astrology in the US because only Western applies to the geographic region? Or can you just throw a dart and pick one that works for you?
If you're working with astrology, you're going to wind up with the right astrology. But the crazy thing is, and this is what gets really weird and bizarre, is like one of my best friends from high school is a Vedic astrologer. Okay, we were not into astrology when we were in high school. Okay, that was neither of our paths, and we both, through our lives, started practicing completely different paths of astrology. We can sit down with a chart and come to the same conclusion about that chart from absolutely completely different systems. They're connected. There's a lot of connection between it, but he's using sidereal, I'm using tropical. He's using all sorts of other methods, and yet we're still going to be like, this is how it works.
I get that. I mean, I guess the way that I have to interpret that is that what you're describing sounds more like music, or more like two comedians sharing jokes, and they're both like, yeah, we're both funny. Your joke is funny, and my joke is funny. If we're playing music, it's like, yeah, you just played classical and I just played jazz, but you're in the right key. Like, we can actually work together and do the same thing. But I'm still, I want to understand where astrology, like, what do you point your finger at and be like, and this is astrology, as opposed to two individual people that are able to relate in a very, like, basic way, like as above, so below, mercurial way, right? Like, the fact that we can understand in analogies means that we can effectively communicate. And, like, is that astrology? Because it seems like that's all that's really happening for what a lot of it gets ascribed to astrology is, like, empathy.
Well, I mean, astrology at its base, and how I would describe it, is that the movements of the heavens have meaning, and we ascribe that meaning to our lives. So if you're not looking at the stars and the planets and the sun, then you're doing some other synchronistic work, right? But it connects. But yeah, so if you're not using the motion of the planets and the sun and the stars, that's not astrology.
I still want to understand the Western Vedic Chinese thing. Like, if I'm in Florida, which of those systems works for me? Like, or how do I know? How do I pick one?
Okay, the biggest difference is whether you're northern or southern hemisphere. And that's not something a lot of people talk about or think about even. But because basically, as the sky turns, your longitude, okay, or rather your latitude, is going to make a big difference in the stars you see, in the height of everything. Okay. Whereas your longitude only changes the time of day certain things happen at. If you're at the same latitude, you're looking at the same sky someone on the opposite side of the earth is at the same latitude.
What if I'm on the equator? Is it just whatever you pick?
Well, it's a balance. It's a balance there, right? If you're right on that equator line, I mean, you don't have cold and hot seasons, you have wet and dry seasons, right? It's
So does the equator invalidate astrology, or does it just make all astrology equally valid?
Yeah, you could look at either system. But by the way, I mean, I come from a tradition that flips the zodiac in the southern hemisphere to match the seasons, because I practice tropical astrology, not sidereal, for the most part, anyways. But the thing is that if you, and there are
Does tropical astrology come with umbrella drinks?
I hope so. But basically, if you flip your chart to look what it would be in the opposite hemisphere, it's like your shadow chart, right? Like it's the shadow sign. Like a lot of people, like if you're born in one date in 1 month, the sun sign of the opposition is going to be the most attractive person to you. Like a lot of people, like a lot of Geminis wind up with like Sagittarius wives, Libras and Aries, like these oppositions. That happens a lot. It's going to be challenging, but it's a completion, right? Like it's the flowering of the promise of your sign is the exact opposite. And there are these polar issues between them. It's always challenging, the opposition, but it's extremely attractive. So if you look at your chart flipped in the southern hemisphere, it winds up becoming like your shadow side, the things that you're not manifesting consciously. So in the equator, I mean, yeah, you could, if you're right on the line, you could like almost choose either chart, and they might.
I'm trying to see. I'm circling a little bit, but I want to see how I can come at it, because and I love the idea that a corporation is a person and the corporation is born, and therefore corporation has a sign. But I'm trying to. I need you to help me build a case against yourself if you feel up to the task.
I'm a Gemini, Thomas. Of course, I want to.
Okay. So help me build the case against yourself, if you don't mind. Sure. Since you're already getting slaughtered anyway, I don't think it matters that much. But that a corporation being able to do that, why wouldn't you see a bunch of corporations all being founded at like precisely the exact times? Because all of a sudden it is astrologically more beneficial to start a company right now, and also like, with the geography of where you actually register it, like the state that you register in. So if I'm in Florida, or if I'm on the equator, let's say I'm on the equator and I register a company in Delaware on a certain date, is that company born in Delaware and therefore get a Delaware star chart?
Okay, if you're a corporation, I would definitely cast the chart from where you're incorporating. Okay. Whereas if you're talking, like, it gets complicated. If you're founding a business, it should be the individual who owns the business. Where they are is where you found the chart from. And
yeah, but I mean, for tax purposes, some people would be absolutely insane to like start a business and register it in New York, right? You're going to register it in one of like 4 or 5 different states that are way more tax friendly. So I'm just wondering, like, that. Let's say you've never even been to, let's say Colorado. You've never even been to Colorado, but you're going to register a business in Colorado. Does that business have a Colorado star chart, even if this all happened in a server in Atlanta somewhere in Amazon's architecture? Like an electron didn't even make its way into Colorado, but it is still symbolically registered to that state.
It's a good question. I've debated that, and I would look at the specific circumstances as to whether that specific business is really one person's like dream project.
Let's say it's AI. Let's say a rogue AI was like, I'm going to start a business, and I'm going to start that business in Colorado, and it wasn't a person that told it to do that. It did this on its own.
I don't have an answer for that right now. I'd have to think about that. But generally, I would cast the chart for whoever clicked the button where they were. You know what I mean?
Well,
I've
let's say
argued this with people before about electing charts, by the way. I would generally do that, but if it's really not one person's initiative and it is a corporation as a whole new thing, I might look at the incorporation date. I might look at both charts together. I might take both charts.
So, pause. Is a corporation a person? Thomas, Noah, your answers, please.
Yes. I'd say 7.
I think one of the greatest evils in our society is corporate law. I think we should abolish it. I think that true capitalism and true free market means that if you take the risk, you put your house on the line for that risk. I mean,
I'm with Noah on this 100%. Corporations should be abolished, and they are horrifying.
I'm down with capitalism and free market, but man, you take that risk. If your business commits a crime, you go to jail. Not I don't know, it wasn't me.
You know what? Though? I understand, and I don't disagree with either of you, but it's the same as saying, like, I don't think spiders should exist. Like, okay, that's great, but there's also a reality where they do.
A spider is a physical object. You can go pick a spider up. Where's the corporation?
Okay, let's say wind. Wind, can't exist. I don't want wind to exist anymore.
Oh my God, Thomas hates spiders and wind. I'm sorry, I don't even
know. You're comparing physical things to an egregore.
I mean, I would make a separate argument in a different show that an egregore could have the same type of physical properties, or at least effects on the physical world, that a human being or an animal would have.
Well, it's still not a person. It's an egregore.
I gave you my number. It's a 7. It's not changing.
Thing. I know. That's why we bring Jem on, because he is the sexiest.
Everyone's got a beard here too.
Yeah, this is a very beardly show.
It's a requirement.
It's good stuff. That's what on the dog face dudes you've got to have your.
Hey, by the way, who came up with the name dog face dudes?
Wasn't me.
Well, dog face is your dog face pony soldiers, your guys that are in the trenches doing the fighting.
Right. No, I'm just curious who came up with it. Who was the
actually the guy that came up with it is no longer on the show.
He got kicked off the show.
Oh,
no, he had some personal things, and he couldn't do it anymore. He doesn't stream at all.
We had a Muay Thai tournament. He came in 4th.
Yeah, Steve beat him up.
I was interested to see if I could prove using just whoever came up with the name Dogface Boy. The subjective.
No, it's the Norm Macdonald blue card who wrote these jokes answer every time, man. It's some guy.
The dude abides.
Some dude.
Because when like people's creative work, what they come up with creatively is reflected in their natal chart. You can see it. You can looking at artists' natal charts, an amazing thing. So whoever came up with the idea of dog face boy, your face is the ascendant, right? What's rising on the eastern horizon when you're born. And we have, Canis Major, especially Sirius. So I was like, oh man, just imagine. I ask who it was, and we get their natal chart, and Sirius was rising at the moment, they were born. Would be incredible. Or the ruling planet of their rising sign being on Sirius or something like that would be amazing.
Yeah, unfortunately, John could not continue on. So
we lost John. Hit him up for his birth chart, and we'll see.
Total Scorpio.
So
I am actually a total Scorpio.
So I want to ask: is it a HIPAA violation or a violation of privacy to immediately ask for someone's personal details to know? I need to know the exact hour and minute of your birth and the GPS location of your birth, and before I can continue talking with you. This is sort of the discrimination aspect that hasn't been brought up yet.
Well, it's all if you want to. I'm sorry, I don't have a SWAT team that's going to bust into your door and be like, give me your birth chart, let's go.
In your ideal society, that's exactly what we would get, I assume.
No, 100%. But I love Facebook. I love snooping on people's birth charts.
But it would be like legal defense. Like, Your Honor, I'm sorry, my client's 4th rising house was in Pluto retro gear. And he was on a freeway that was pointed in Capricorn, and how people do when it's like, and so really, why are we even here?
That's still a stronger argument than sovereign citizen defenses.
So it seems like it's a damned if you tell them, damned if you don't tell them, because the astrologer guy is going to say, well, you're more likely to be this sign because you're cagey and private focused, and there's probably more public focused signs. So then it's like the astrologer is going to just pin you down and then try to figure
Would,
it out
would they
based
though?
on
If you,
the
if like,
determination.
no, if you were in a room, let's say you joined this chat and there was 9 other people here that you've never met before and you didn't know where they're from, could you just through like watching them interact be able to pinpoint all their different signs?
Depends. It depends because it's not just the sun.
Well, give us a demonstration there, Noah.
Well, I don't know.
What are our signs?
Okay, first off, I knew that Thomas was a Gemini sun.
I've actually been lying about that this whole time. No, I'm kidding.
You're one of those. I mean, I knew David Charles Plate was a Sagittarius. I knew that the second I heard him speak. I mean, but the problem is that sometimes the sun isn't in a great position. It's not powerful. The rising sign is going to come out more, or the ruler of the rising sign is going to be more prominent. Like, it's not just one thing. But like, I know for myself, I mean, I've guessed the easiest sign for me to guess, the 2 easiest signs, Sagittarius and Virgo. I see those all the time. Like, but I'm a Gemini sun. I'm prominently Gemini. And so Sagittarius is the opposition. So it's easier for me to see that energy. I notice it more. And Virgo is a square. So it's also more noticeable to me. But
what's your guesses?
I don't know you guys enough. I'm sorry, I haven't watched your show, so I haven't gotten a vibe. I'm not gonna guess. Just I gotta catch the vibe first, right? And also, like, okay, so Alan, you were saying, some signs are more extroverted or introverted, sort of, which is true. But what's almost more prominent than that is time of day you were born.
Helicopter going over.
Well, I'm glad that you're bringing that up because this was maybe the first thing. Remember when you said that you used to be on the fence and then you were like, actually, there's something to this. I saw the sun and the moon. I also feel like I might have been on the fence and then I kind of like started to slowly get off of it. And one of the first times I got off the fence was when I heard someone talking about how important it is to know the exact time of day that you were born, even if you've got the location and everything else down. And if that's the case, then how many people are relying on some overworked nurse or doctor or state official to record the correct hour that you were born and not be like, crap, when was this kid born? I think 8. 8 sounds right. Like, you might have been born at 4, right? And now all of a sudden you're 4 hours off, which seems like it would make a significant enough difference as to invalidate any readings you've got to that point, which also means that any reading you might have gotten that you agreed with just means that you probably would have agreed with any reading, especially if you can just shift everything 4 hours, or I don't know what the different delineations are, but I assume like an 8-hour difference would be significant. And I'm convinced enough without proof, I'm sorry, but that enough nurses or doctors with all the malpractice suits that they can probably record the wrong hour, let alone the wrong day when a baby's born.
100%. And first off, I would never deny confirmation bias. It's a real thing. Okay, so that's a real thing, and that's a valid criticism of astrology for sure. But even without any birth time, if you take the houses out of it, because the birth time is really the houses, everything other than the moon is going to be within the same degree every day, pretty much. Okay, the moon moves about 12 degrees a day, so the moon could change signs based on what time of day you're born. Most things are going to be within the sign they're going to be. Most of at least half of astrology you can do without knowing the birth time, so it's not going to be an invalid reading. It's just that it's good. So here's actually this is a good evidence actually for me. Anyways, this is a good anecdote. It's an anecdote, but to me it was an amazing moment. There was one of my best friends. He was in a band and co-band with this other guy, and this was this musician. And I was talking with him and he gave me his birth chart. He was like, oh, this is when I was born. I was born at this time. And I start reading his chart and he says, this isn't me. You're not talking about me. I'm like, okay, sorry, I got it wrong. I don't know. So I go back. He sends me a message a few weeks later and goes, oh, sorry, I gave you the wrong. I wasn't born in the AM. I was born in the PM. And I go, okay. And I look at his chart and I go, this is like, yeah, that's exactly me. You know, it was amazing that for him, it wasn't confirmation bias because he's not someone who was going to like agree with something that wasn't true. He wasn't prone to being easily misled, right? So that was amazing because it was like he was like, no, you're wrong. And then he was like, oh, wait, I fucked up. And but his real chart absolutely worked. It was 100%.
I don't want to take away from that experience for you, but it sounds like a coin flip, right? Like a 50-50 coin. One time you flipped it and it turned up heads, and then you flipped it again and it turned up tails. And the second time you had the benefit of knowing like what not to say, right? So like
That's not true. That's not true because the planets and the signs are still the same. It's just that there's a different overlay based on whether they're above the horizon, below the horizon, rising or setting, and where the angles are and what the houses are ruled by. So a lot changes, but there's still like half of it is still there. It's still the same, right?
Well, let me pose another question to you. If you were to, and you don't have to give me exact ratios, you can just kind of be general about it. But when it comes to astrology, and it comes to DNA, and it comes to to your upbringing, right? Like the nature and nurture, and now you've got astrology. Or does astrology just count as nature?
Yeah, so first off, you can see the upbringing in the natal chart. So I mean, it's like it's one and the same. You're like, oh, you can see how the parents were and how the parents interacted within someone's natal chart, right? So it becomes one and the same. At the same point in time.
So can you tell whose like parents are divorced based on their natal charts?
I'm not saying 100% of the time, but often, yeah, you can see the conflict. And if you're wrong about them being divorced, it's like, yeah, but they fight all the time. They're constantly fighting.
Well, I mean, it's what 70% is the rate. I guess you could just usually lean towards divorce and be right most of the time. And okay, so and this is definitely has nothing to do with you at all. So like this is like I'm down for good ad hominem, but not with you. Like you're still a good friend of mine. But there are
enemies. We're mortal enemies.
There are.
How dare you? He violated kayfabe. Someone's got to fire him. He violated the kayfabe.
There's plenty of examples though of people that do ascribe like actual importance to these interpretations of astrology. And sorry, you kayfabe me the hell out there. You freaking psyched me out like mid criticism for you. Oh no. So
if this was old school, Thomas, we'd beat you up after the show. You might not even live.
So when it comes to this ratio, let's say that you remove astrology from nature. It has to be nature, nurture, and astrology. Are they all of equal importance, or does astrology have more deterministic quality on your life than your DNA does?
So I thought about that in terms of DNA, which it's like a siphoning device. It's conditioning how it's receiving the energy of that moment when you're born. So two babies born in the same hospital room at the exact same time. It's like it's filtering that information in different ways. And where that becomes, it's all fuzzy and there's a million different ways you can interpret it. So
yeah, this is where the objectivity goes out the window.
But it's not that it goes out the window. The objective part is still there. It's just that, yeah, you can interpret this planet and this sign in, thousands of ways.
I mean, I'm not sure that you understand the definition of objective.
What do you mean by that?
Like when something's objective, everybody agrees on it. Like there's no ifs, ands, and buts. There's no, well, but maybe. If something's objective, it just is.
Okay, so
objectively, this is a lighter. Like we all know that this is a lighter.
I think it's just plastic and butane. I don't think it's a lighter. It's just plastic and butane. But, well,
I mean, of course you could be a jackass, but I mean,
no, but that's literally what it is. I'm making a point specifically because one planet means hundreds of different things, okay? But it doesn't mean the same things as this other planet, okay? And this sign means hundreds or thousands of different things, okay? So then you put this planet in that sign and you have, tens of thousands of potentials, okay? But there's certain things that it does not mean. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like it's objectively agreed to within any given astrological system, the range of things any one thing is, and you start narrowing it down by looking at the entire chart, all the different objective meanings of the sign, the house, and the planet, and you start adding it together and cutting away. Well, it's not going to be that because of this. It's not going to be that because of this, but it's a massive amount of information to deal with and to deal with accurately. And so that's where the intuition, the subjective element comes to. But you can buy these ancient tomes and go through lists and lists of things that are signified by each planet and each sign. And that stuff often is pretty like homogenous across different traditions and around the world, especially what the planets tend to be the same everywhere. Okay. So like, that's what I mean by objective. There are some objective, you don't have to call it truth, but within this tradition, it's objective in the fact that, yes, we all agree that mother and home are part of what the moon signifies. But the moon also signifies your body. It also signifies your unconscious, your dreams, your habits, sex, all these things, right? Like can be signified by the moon. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Noah, are you suggesting that astrology is a tool?
Yeah, it's a tool. Yeah.
Okay, so in this instance, is astrology in current year, current climate, with all the technology we have, would you argue that this tool of astrology is more often used for beneficial purposes or the opposite? Is it more of a discriminatory, racist sort of thing that can use to prove that someone is going to be a bad seed because of their birth chart?
I don't think we live in a society where people are put in a different caste based on their birth chart. So if we're talking about Western society, I think it's generally used for positive purposes, as far as I can tell.
I'd like to be in your algorithm. That sounds like a very happy place to be. It sounds like a very optimistic place to be. And unfortunately, in current year, with everyone up for grift and the money clamp is tighter and the purse strings are tighter, there's a lot of people who are selling courses and telling people what they want to hear and telling other people what they don't want to hear. So this tool now in the hands of average astrologers, where it's a democratized process where there's a website, you just type in a sign and then you get the chart, and then anyone can be an astrologer, just like anybody can be a meteorologist, anybody can be a filmmaker, anybody can make animation with AI prompts and this sort of thing. So now that astrology is not just a court science where there's these men who have been studying it for ages and ages and they have the ancient documents, now that everybody has access to this tool, now are you still sure that this tool of astrology, defined by how you just defined it in the last 50 minutes, is this tool ultimately being used for the benefit of all of society?
Well, obviously, like any tool, I mean, I can take a screwdriver and I can fix your door and you're going to get through the winter better and you're going to be warmer. Or I can take the screwdriver and jam it through your skull.
Of course,
You know,
that's
like-
what you're thinking of. I wouldn't even think of something that crazy.
I'm sick, man. I'm an astrologer. Well, there's definitely charlatans. There's people with bad impulses. I mean, it's a tool used by humans. Humans are imperfect. I mean, I'm not going to come here and say every astrologer is amazing and doing good things for people. I'm saying it's a tool that has the potential to do amazing things. I mean, I can't speak for or justify what anyone else does. That's unfair to me, and I'm going to quit this stream now. That was unfair.
If let's go on that astrology can do wonderful things for someone. Couldn't you say the exact same thing about someone that discovers the Harry Potter book series when they're in like a dark moment of their life and they just relate to it at a very personal level and they use that for some kind of self-empowerment, or I guess Marcus finding like some.
If they do that as adults, we have a word for that, and we're not allowed to say that on YouTube. And Ben and Marcus have been perfectly clear about that just about every time we go on air for months, because
What's the word?
YouTube, so I'm not used to that. But yeah, that's right up
He's
there.
out here trying to fucking Wild West it and shit. Like out here just saying every word that he's like, you know what? If I can't play a clip to get the show taken down, I'm gonna say some fucking shit. I am gonna say
I'm so good though. I'm so good. I don't even think I've said a single swear all night.
You haven't. In fact, you've defeated me like 3 weeks in a row.
But no, I mean the Harry Potter is right up there with like Disney adult, which I guess is also right up there with.
So are we asking our astrologer to explain how astrology could be used to curse somebody, and that's what we don't want to put on YouTube? The information of this tool could be used to create a situation where you have a lover and you're no longer with them, and now you want to curse your ex based off of the knowledge of their astrology and maybe a locket of their hair. How would you use astrology to curse somebody?
I mean,
hypothetically speaking.
You could, but you could, like you said, you could use a locket of hair or a picture. You don't need astrology to do it.
I can tell you one way that you could use astrology to do it is that you could tell somebody that their astrological signs are incompatible because of X, Y, and Z. You know, like Uranus is in retrograde and Mercury is crossing paths, and they're having a union or whatever. If you can plant that seed and somebody ascribes to astrology, then it's just one other vector. It's one other like sort of wound, like open wound that you're allowing yourself for someone to manipulate you through like the external world. So
yeah,
even having that flap open, that's how the Death Star gets taken down.
So divorce lawyers employ astrologers to increase divorces.
I mean, I would absolutely put money on that.
Okay, 100%. Yes, you can use astrology to be manipulative. You could do that, right? But the higher level is, so synastry is where you compare two charts together. You put them together. So the higher quality is that, first off, the things that make two charts have a difficult time together tend to be what make them attracted to each other. That's how humans work. I think you all know this. Most people are more attracted to the people they're going to fight with more. These energies are similar, this oppositional energy. So the higher level of doing that isn't to say, oh, you're not going to get along. It's like,
I gotta say, I fought a lot with my first wife, and I absolutely hated it. And I don't hardly ever fight with my wife now, and it's wonderful.
Good.
So
it's absolutely wonderful.
Anecdotes are fun, but ultimately irrelevant.
No, that's fair. And as you get older, you tend to go away from those conflicts. And the promise of the opposition is something you're supposed to grow past, right? You're supposed to see the shadow in yourself in the opposite and realize it's part of you and grow through it. And then it doesn't have to be a fight anymore. Right?
Let me ask you, when the context of like a relationship where you're getting birth charts of two different people, is it that the sun, I'm trying to restate some of this, you might have to correct me, but is it that you knowing someone's star chart means you know how much sun and moon they're getting based on the hemisphere and all these other factors, and ultimately you're measuring, to oversimplify, how much sun they're getting every day, and that's what's making the measurement? Or is one of these stars that's in an actual constellation that's, you know, hundreds of thousands or millions of miles away, does that actually, the position of that star, have any bearing? Or is that just something that's in the map, and it's really just where the sun's at that matters?
It's everything. The whole thing, all the stars, all the planets, and you can go down to...
It sounds like it's a science formula, but the variables include infinity. Like it's got the infinity variables.
That's true. That is true. Welcome to life on planet Earth, Thomas. Infinity variables. You didn't
I don't know,
read chaos science?
because you can isolate individual things on planet Earth, right? We're talking about something that doesn't fit within those same parameters, and it's not being held to the same objective standards because anything can be anything.
I'm not saying anything can be anything, but I am saying everything's relevant and everything's connected. Now, you generally pare it down to the 5 classical planets and the 2 luminaries and their position in the sky and their relationship to each other. That's the core of astrology. Then you can bring in the outer planets that we can't see from Earth without a telescope. That's another energy. It's there. It's very prominent, but that's lesser than what we can actually see, because again, it's a subjective art. It's where are you on Earth? What do you see in the sky? Okay.
Well, do you believe like the addition of Pluto and Neptune should have changed anything with previous astrology, or did we just discover these planets later on and they just get tacked on and it just works out because astrology was correct from the start?
We can go back in time and see the effect of Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus on human history. It's profound. It's a profound study. But in terms of there's a whole other theories of it's human psychology evolved, and now we can understand what Uranus was, and then human psychology evolved again, and the actual discoveries in human civilization that were happening as they were being discovered relate to how we interpret those planets, because again, it's all symbiotic, right? It's all happening at the same time. But we're kind of getting away from the synastry thing, which I think was a bit more interesting, which was comparing these two charts together. And generally I wouldn't go into the stars, because I noticed something about your debate style, Thomas, Gemini, is that you're always asking two questions at once, which I think you think is gonna like trip me up, but I'm a Gemini too. I'm on to you.
Oh no! If you wanted Gish Gallop, which is a very valid debate technique, we can do but that's like 20 questions at once, not 2. If you can handle 2 at a time, you're no Gemini, my friend.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Anyways, I want to get back to that. Generally, I don't think I've ever really looked deeply at a star in synastry personally, because I'm tending to look at the relationship between all the different planets in the two charts. And I'm never like saying, oh, you can't be with this person because their sun is here and your sun's here, whatever. It's more like, listen, if you're attracted to this person, you're going to go with them anyways. Doesn't matter what I say. What's valid and important about that is this is where you're going to have conflict. Your Mercuries are in a square pattern, so you're going to not communicate well. You're going to always be arguing with communication. And this is how this person argues because their Mercury is in this position. And this is how they perceive things and how they communicate. And then it becomes a really powerful counseling tool to allow partners to communicate better and understand how they process information.
If 2 astrologers, and this is a hypothetical, right? If we can do anecdotes, we can do hypotheticals. If 2 astrologers both do a star chart on the same person, they both have accurate information, and they come up independently with conflicting readings, how can you tell who is right out of the 2 of them? Are they both right?
The way the person's living their life. Like, there's going to be bad astrologers. I mean, you can't. What are you going to say? It's an art, right? Like, it's like saying, oh, this person played this chord this way, and this person played this chord sequence this way. It's like, well, I guess all music is fake because they didn't play the chord sequence the same way. Their fingering was different. I guess.
Not quite, because you can. I mean, if we want to get very granular about it, you can measure the frequencies and use a Fourier transform and find out the average note and tell whether it's in a mode. Like you can objectively make these measurements and calculate who's the closest to the right chord. Just like if I gave 2 people a math equation, one person might round somewhere off, right? But you could generally tell if they were doing it the right way, if it followed the patterns of like, okay, at least you were applying this math, you just went wrong here. But you can also reverse engineer and be like, aha, you went wrong at this step, and if you correct this, then you would have got it right. I assume that you could ascribe that same thing to astrology, but how would you even know, like, and here's where you went wrong, if it's so subjective that it's ultimately who says it's right? Is it the person saying like, oh yeah, I relate more to reader A versus reader B? Does that mean reader A is objectively better at astrology or did a better reading? Or like, you know what I mean? Like who actually gets to measure this and make any kind of judgment call?
It's a great question, because so if you're talking about a prediction for the future, that's measurable because did it come true or not, right? Like there's that's A or B. Like
I don't know if that's even true though, because you could be like, oh, I said I was looking for love, but I didn't find anybody. You could be like, yeah, but they released that new, peppermint latte at Starbucks. You love that, don't you? You'd be like, oh, I guess. So is that the same? Like, you can like twist it to mean something that's correct.
For sure, because I mean, I'm 100% astrology is real, right? And I'm not saying that my predictions are 100%, right? I get things wrong, okay? But when I get things wrong, then I look at it and I'm like, I can see how the astrology was still right. It just didn't play out the way I pieced it together. So I think you're making a really good point there. Like, I agree with that 100%. Now, in terms of who gets to say whether it's right or wrong, if you're talking about a natal chart interpretation where you're just talking about how someone processes things, how they experience reality, then one person might understand themselves really well and might be able to say this person did a better job and go with it. Now, another person who really is hiding a lot of who they are from themselves, and I mean, I've seen this where the astrologer is bang on, but it's hitting too close to home. And so they're like, they don't want to deal with what they're actually saying. And so they'll shut it off and say, you're wrong. Shut up, and
right, so there's really, what I'm hearing, there's no reliable judge of who can actually say this astrologer was objectively better than that astrologer. This is the same way that you could say with, like, in a math equation, you got closer to the number that we were looking for, that was the right answer to this question. Because as you're describing some of this, it also reminds me, tell me if this is a bad analogy or not, but like an art critic, you get 5 art critics in a room and they'll analyze a painting, and 2 of them think it's a bunch of, or even movie critics, 2 of them are like, that movie sucked, and the other 3 are like, oh my god, that was genius, that's the best movie I've ever seen. It's not like any of those people are right, but also you're not living and making decisions and guiding your life and selecting companions. Well, maybe some people are like, did you like Eyes Wide Shut or not? We can't do this unless you give it a 10. But I just feel like we're talking about something that is as subjective as art critiques. And if astrology is the same as art critiques, I give art criticism basically like a 0 out of 10. So if anything, it loses points with that analogy in the air.
Same. Yeah, fair. But I mean, as an astrologer, depending on what you're doing, it's a vast art. I mean, if you have a client, either you helped them or you didn't, so really it's up to the client to be like, that was valuable or not.
So are you stating, Noah, that astrology is more beneficial to narcissists?
Depends on who the astrologer is and what they're doing, because you could definitely give someone a reading where you're just boosting their ego the whole time and you know exactly how to boost their ego. Or you could be an astrologer who's like, I'm going to help this person grow and help them actually have a better life.
And which one is more likely to return to their favorite astrologer?
Depends
financially speaking. So the financial motivation proves that astrology is more beneficial to wealthy narcissists.
That's false, because it's not a lucrative profession. So people aren't studying it specifically to make money generally. They're studying it because they believe it's one of the core functions of reality, and it becomes a passion.
You're helping my double duty right now, though, because again, like, I would expect that there would be a significant number of millionaires or billionaires that just all happen to be astrologists. And then all of a sudden, like, I'd be a 6 out of 10 at that point. If that just happened to be a weird coincidence that all these astrologists just happen to be killing it in the stock market. I understand there's people in the stock market that use astrology, but I mean like enough that there's a pattern where you'd be like, hey, there's something about sending your kid to, an Ivy League school versus there's something about sending your kid to like a new age school to learn astrology.
Well, but what do we know about the people who are actually the billionaires and trillionaires of the world, right? Like, what do we actually know about what they do?
They have a lot of expendable income, and a lot of them join Epstein Island for irrational reasons. So if you're going to point out that they also indulge in astrology, it would just be like any other frivolous expenditure that I've got lots of expendable cash, then yeah, I agree. Astrology nicely fits into that category.
I mean, I can't speak to it beyond, was it JP Morgan who said millionaires don't use astrology, but billionaires do?
Because they've got more money to burn. Yeah, absolutely.
I highly doubt that they would burn their money on astrology if it didn't work, because it's not that much fun.
Maybe. Although I would put forth the same thing as a Pascal's wager, that once you've got so many resources that whatever, we'll hire some astrologists to help us make decisions in a Pascal wagers way. But I wouldn't say that JP Morgan investing in something necessarily means that it's real.
Yeah, fair. But you already brought that up as like a proof. Well, wouldn't rich people use astrology? Yeah, JP Morgan said he did. Well, we don't know if that's true.
No. So one person that's already dead now that we can show that he invested in a lot of things. But I mean, like, right now, right? Like, how come we don't see a surgence of astrological financiers?
What we do know is that it's considered pseudoscience and bogus and silly by the media. So if you were rich and famous, you probably wouldn't advertise the fact that you were using astrologers. Okay. But there are instances where we know that the Barbie movie had an elected release date that was revealed, and it totally aligned with the meaning of the movie. Okay. So there were Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan had an astrologer.
Well, then a bunch of Hollywood people. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
You understand by definition it's a pseudoscience, because you can't get a replicable result.
But there are. That's the thing. It's just it's complicated to do. There are actually journals devoted to doing statistical science on astrology, but they're completely shut out of the actual mainstream academic world.
Let me re-ask you a similar topic to like my previous question, but I'm just going to restate it in a different way to maybe get a different sort of dialogue. If astrologers are not being trained as part of like your astrology to eliminate your bias, then how do you validate accuracy? Like collectively, any good astrologer, like how can you? Because otherwise, if like every fart that you smells great, then like you're not actually learning anything. You're not getting the biofeedback that mechanism is actually designed for, right? So the same way that if you're doing astrology, how would you personally, I guess, don't speak for everyone else, how can you personally critique your performance in creating a natal chart or in create like how do you follow up and make sure things were accurate and then go back and tweak maybe what you didn't do correctly? Because it almost seems like there's not even a structure to pursue that sort of like method of improvement.
Well, I care that I help people. I care that I do a good job for people, whether they pay.
Right, but how do you measure like if you could have done this part of the reading better than that, other than just
all I can do is check up with people after I've helped them out. Check up with people in the future and see how it panned out and see what advice I gave they followed up on, what they didn't follow up on, and how their life played out, and then see if I could have done a better job. So that's, I mean, you seem to be asking it in a more scientific way than I would take it, because it's just very personal. It's a very personal relationship to the stars and to other people. I mean, that's how I do it. Other people, I can't speak for anyone else.
So the more accurate and the granularity and the more specific, if this is still the metaphor of it being a tool, the better you become with the tool, the more you can have a cleaner unaliving situation. Like it can be more targeted, this type of thing. I'd like to hear more about the benefits of astrology. I don't know that we're going to convince people that it's useful or not useful, or if it's pseudoscience or an art, or the value of it. We're not really going to continue to argue that. I think we need to have Noah argue the benefits of continuing to have conversations about astrology. There's maybe certain religions that would say that to use astrology would be against their dogma and their belief system.
Like what religion?
Christianity, for example.
Okay, so Genesis 1:16 says the Lord put the stars in the sky for signs and seasons. For signs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is that not astrology?
That sounds like a calendar.
For signs.
Sure.
I mean,
we're not arguing seasons exist, that it gets hot and cold in summer and winter.
Yes, but
what we're focusing on now are the benefits.
All right, fair enough. So it's a separate question, but it's just the idea that Catholicism outlawed astrology while having a copious astrological library in the Vatican. Is
all you have to do is replay whenever you say Catholicism banned, you just have to follow that with for poor people, and it all makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. But anyways, because the text that we use, which is the Council of Nicaea, whatever. Anyways, pointless.
Thomas is
What's that?
Thomas is pro-incest. That's what I got out of that.
I'm pro-freedom. Are you anti-libertarian now?
Oh my god. All right. Are we still talking about astrology? What's going on here?
We're talking about the benefits of it.
You got to throw in a sideways punch every now and then. No.
I walked away for a minute to have a couple of tacos, and I came back to, incest.
Well, now, I'm not even going to make the joke. Sorry. That's, I'm walking away. It's better off for me. Anyways.
I mean, honestly, this is not the best kayfabe in the world, but if we're making an argument that astrology can be beneficial, I don't know if you're asking if it's net positive or net negative, but
I have asked that question. I'm waiting for the argument to prove that the needles here.
Well, I'm not going to be
beneficial or.
I'm not going to be able to prove it without actually doing people's charts and in
culturally speaking, generally speaking, has astrology led towards more benefits for, and we'll use the word poor people, for everyone? Is it a more utilitarian thing, or has it been used by people in power to remain in power?
I can't answer to that.
I'll answer that. That's an easy one. I think that it's actually been beneficial, and I think it's more utilitarian than it is manipulative. If there's any manipulative aspect of astrology, I think it's a self-inflicted wound. These are the same people that are gonna offload all of their logic to AI at some point and then blame, AI for being the one that like drove them into a lake or whatever. You know exactly what I'm getting at, I believe. And I think that ultimately astrology represents a very incredibly impressive mnemonic device that has shown its worth for existing for over 2,000 years and relatively keeping its very same form and the same stories and the same symbols. Like it's a testament to that. It's a benefit of human intellect. Like that, this is a living record that we don't really have a lot of analogs to. So I think that alone shows that it's a net positive, but it could obviously be used manipulatively. I think of like the movie Apocalypto is my favorite example of this, where you can basically run an entire region, and many people did historical evidence where they demanded blood sacrifice, otherwise the sun wouldn't come back, because they understood what an eclipse was. Even if they didn't know the name for it, they knew that the sun wasn't actually going away, but that if they could predict the exact date it was going to happen, and no one else knew that formula, then now it seems like they've got some kind of supernatural power. And I think that has waned over time. And now instead of people doing blood sacrifices because they're afraid you're going to steal the sun from them, it's more just like, give me $40 and I'll brighten up your day by telling you what you want to hear.
If you're asking about what the benefit of astrology is, I mean, there's the psychological element of how I process things and where my inner psychological issues are. That's one element. But what's really potent and noticeable in the outer world is if you have someone's chart and you look at where the planets are moving, you can note when there's going to be difficult times for them. And you can note that this is going to be a time where you're based on the significations of all the planets involved in these aspects, where in these months, things are going to get really depressing. Okay. It's okay. When you get to this date, things are going to start to lessen. Just get through that month. It's going to be hard. You're not going to get anything done. Things are going to be, contrary to your forward motion. That's okay. That's what that time is. Or you're going to feel really frustrated in this time, but you should be going forward and doing the thing, and then when you align to what those planets signify, then you get through these difficult times. And sometimes you get blessings from transits that look really difficult if you're able to align with what the planets actually want, because they're only going to give you a hard time because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
In a very neutral way, I would describe like those kind of statements in NLP terms. Those are embedded commands. These are things that when you tell someone at the end of this month, your depression will lift. Well, now you've actually implanted that. You've primed them a little bit. So now they're looking for an excuse to like let off a little steam at the end of the month. Oh, I made it. And Noah told me that when I got here, I'd feel better. Look at that. I feel better, because you kind of anchored them ahead of time. So
that's a fair point. And I would agree with you if it weren't for the fact that I learned astrology by mapping out my whole life and looking at the transits and going backwards in time and seeing how it was true when I didn't know it was true. You know what I mean? So from my perspective, that's why it's real. And the benefit is because if you're depressed, which is just a very Saturnian thing, that's a Saturn transit generally. If you know it's going to end in 3 weeks, you know what I mean? It makes the whole transit better. You're like, no, I just got to get through these 3 weeks, because the worst thing about depression is thinking it's never going to end. This is just what life is. And this is what
what if I just, was like, oh, fuck this shit, and I didn't think about Saturn at all, and I just quit being depressed and smoked some weed?
Well, awesome. Except for the fact that weed is ruled by Saturn, so you're aligning with what Saturn wanted. So there you go.
Hold on.
Saturn wanted me to smoke weed. I should have picked a different planet.
You have to explain a statement like that. How does Saturn own weed? Like, so no other planet represents weed, only Saturn, or does every planet get to represent weed?
I'm talking about ancient grimoires. All give cannabis to Saturn. That's in the record. That's in the record. That is objectively
okay,
true.
So that's an object. The first, let me just say for the record, the first objective fact that I think Noah has brought to the table tonight. The first objective fact. I'll give you this one.
It's funny. It's funny. I grew a cannabis plant a few years ago, and I thought it was very Jupiterian. I hadn't read these specific texts. I didn't realize it was given to Saturn, and I understand why now. It restricts and restrains certain things from your consciousness. That's why it's Saturnite. because I felt it was
What
Jupiterian.
exactly is it restricting and restraining? Most people find it quite freeing.
Yeah, well, it restricts and restrains. Does it not restrict and restrain your worries?
And
I mean, you definitely give less of a shit about them.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about that. Not going to deny that, but most people find it quite expansive. Where thoughts that they would not have normally had, they're now able to. They start having and things like that.
Like the word Mercedes has 3 E's in it that are all pronounced differently.
Sorry, what was that?
That's a pothead thought. The word Mercedes has 3 E's in it that are all pronounced differently.
You don't think of that when you're not high. You don't.
Like everybody in
no
this
way
fucking show
you
is
think of that when you're not high.
Everybody in the show is like,
we're not car guys. We're not Mercedes.
They're all making the noises. They're all sounding it out. The entire audience is sitting there mouthing out the E's in Mercedes right now. They are. And they're going, holy shit, it works.
This is the kind of thing you hear at a bar, and then after you're done figuring it out, your wallet is gone. This is like the exact kind of thing.
He's on to us.
Are we going to ask the AI how many E's are in Mercedes?
Like, I get that reference.
So I got to ask Marcus. Do you got the video ready?
Which video? The
oh wait, before that happens, I meant to do this earlier. We had a super chat from Tony Coriolis saying which zodiac has more of an effect. I think we did go over that a little bit.
Well, you need to be better about this, Steve.
Well, I was gonna do it at the top of the hour, and then my girl told me that there were homemade tacos ready, and
well, there's a specific question in there too. Does Chinese astrology go off stars and planets at all?
Yeah, of course. It all goes off. I haven't studied Chinese astrology specifically, so I know something about it. I know some things about it, but I can't speak to it with any sort of like.
You've read the Cliff Notes?
I'm always reading a bunch of stuff. I mean, I'm not gonna. Yes, they look at the constellations. They have a different relationship to the constellations than we do, which every culture has a different relationship to the constellations. One of the most static constellations in terms of meaning is Ursa Major. It's a bear almost everywhere in the world, which is fascinating, especially because it has a long tail, which, the Western Europeans are like, well, because it got thrown. I think it was Zeus threw him by the tail and his tail got extended. But the North American natives were saying it's birds chasing the bully bear around. They're chasing the bear because he was causing problems.
Well, this is just more evidence that the symbols that people find in the stars are assigned to them, like they're retrofitted. Like the story exists first, the pattern exists first, and then it's like, oh, that kind of looks like this thing, so now that's the mnemonic device.
Yeah, fair. But my point being that the constellations themselves are more subjective because they're made up of a bunch of different individual stars, which you pointed out are in often completely different parts of the galaxy.
Yeah, to us, it looks like this star is next to that one, but really, it couldn't be farther away than any other star in the sky.
This is how I interpret it and how I experience it. The stars are individual beings, okay, and they get together in groups. It's like they're going to work. Well, that star is going to be a different person when they go to their job or when they go to the pool and go swimming. So when they're in that constellation for us, they're doing their own individual part of a larger thing. And that larger thing relates to different cultures in different ways, which is very subjective, but that's what I'm saying. It's a subjective art.
Well, so, okay, building on the subjective, let's drop astrology a little bit and focus on horoscopes in particular. Does that sound fair? Or are they one and the same?
Hold on. First, I got a question. Marcus, are you ready with the video?
The horoscopes video? Yeah, it's ready.
Oh, what a perfect segue.
Now we got to ask if this is the master prophet. What is this?
This is the receipts here we're looking at. I also have this tab instead that declares the rankings of signs between.
Holy shit, Scorpio men are down at the very bottom.
Yeah, Virgo men are the worst, followed by
Bite me.
Scorpio,
But what is
Taurus,
this?
Aquarius,
What is
Cancer,
this?
Gemini.
Toxic. Just stay away, dickhead.
Yeah. So we'll probably come back to that chart. But here's the video.
Dickheads. No, that's not it, Marcus.
This is a video.
Been a while since I've had this much fun.
Marcus, you shit.
What's your zodiac sign?
I'm a Scorpio.
We're not very compatible.
What the hell?
You know what they say about Scorpios?
Is this what racism's like?
Racism? I'm not being racist.
Yeah, you kind of are. You're judging me based on the way I was born. I can't control it. Prejudice. That's kind of racist to me. Listen up, ladies. Shut up for one second. Listen up, ladies. You're actually racist.
Gotcha, ladies. Gotcha, ladies.
Gotcha, ladies.
Gotcha, ladies. Gotcha, ladies.
Gotcha, ladies. Gotcha, ladies.
Say the line.
Gotcha, ladies. Gotcha, you know what?
Gotcha, ladies. Gotcha, ladies. Gotcha, ladies. Slam.
No coming back from that one, ladies. Pack them up.
Pack them up, ladies.
I'm down and out for the count. He's got me on the mat.
Was that the video?
No, my Marcus just does what Marcus wants.
That was a video.
That's what I like about Marcus.
Yeah, if you're unfamiliar with Marcus here, he's gonna take 85 steps to get to the one directly in front of us. Yeah.
Which video?
Does Marcus's chart state he is going to be circuitous? Is that a
Marcus's astrological chart is actually just the script to the Drunken Master.
thing?
Was it this video?
No.
Which video was that?
It's in the Brotherhood one. I just put it in there, and I put your name in there too.
Okay.
This video was great though. It doesn't really apply to this.
Fantastic.
Okay, yep.
It doesn't really apply to what we're talking about. We can't blame Noah for this.
I will have this in a moment.
This isn't Noah's fault.
No, we should have waited for Mercury to get out of retrograde fully before we did any of this.
Still in the shadow. Still in the shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus is the serpent bearer.
We usually have a deadline to submit clips before I.
Well, Saturn needs to have a Pisces.
Listen, Marcus.
And if the Pisces necktie doesn't have a cerulean aura, then you have to wait until there's a retrograde again comes back around.
Yeah, I
Very
think Agrippa
complicated.
wrote about that.
I think that there's a better way that you can do a more solid con job of that, right? Like being able to roll it off the tongue a little bit quicker does it within the realm of astrology. It does give you more credibility, right? It seems that it would cater more to that.
So I've got to ask Noah: is this your ultimate prophet?
The goddess has revealed herself. All right.
Oh man,
is this Sophia?
Dude, you know what would be hilarious is if Cheney did that as like a Halloween costume.
Oh my god! Oh, that would be fucking awesome.
That dumbass.
The bougie Wookiee
Can we put
costume.
that out into the ether?
I would have no respect for anyone wearing that costume who couldn't have a face as animated as her face is. If you can't animate your face like that, don't do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, holy shit.
Play it, Marcus.
Okay.
Oh, this is the video.
This is the one.
Yeah, this is.
Mountains of Peru, drinking ayahuasca with the shaman stew.
I hate it.
I've been learning about myself, finding out my truth. I've been healing my soul, child, the best medicine. I've been learning shit from the aliens, like how we're all connected to the pyramids, and how we used to use them for time traveling. Now I'm still projecting, remembering how to navigate the ether, sound heals, didgeridoo, singing.
Sound healing, singing.
I'm pretty
goals.
sure she's a Sagittarius sun. I'm gonna put that right out there.
I'm pretty sure she's more Raytheon or Lockheed Martin.
Yeah, where again were those
If I had to
companies
guess.
found? Can we get the star chart? Have you ever done a star chart for Raytheon or Lockheed Martin?
No, I've never looked at it. No.
She looks fucking
Transforming
nuts.
DNA. She healed the kidney infection.
She healed her kidney infection. That just meant she took a fucking bath.
Her dad works for. He gets made fun of at the office by the boys. He does. They're like, "Hey, your dumb fucking daughter dropped another stupid TikTok, Frank. Let's all take a look at it." They call him into a meeting.
So what are those dream catcher earrings? It looks like
It's
some
the senior vice presidents in this broad's TikTok feed, and they're like, "Hang out for the next half hour. We're gonna sit here and watch your kid."
glamour dreadlocks.
How'd you get the caterpillars to stay on her eyes?
She got that. What is that sacred geometry tattoo over her throat chakra?
They're on heroin. She shot up the caterpillars full of heroin, and then
She's
glued
going to be
them to her
handing a
forehead.
cop of Pepsi in a commercial pretty soon. I bet you.
Oh yeah.
Well, she's making more money than me, so I'm not gonna criticize.
Dude, she's making more money than everybody on this screen and watching this show put together.
Put together.
Good job.
100%.
Which like Guam with her trust fund.
Which just tells you that money doesn't mean anything in these kind of things. You can make money doing anything. That doesn't really prove much of anything. That
On an individual scale, an individual person making money does not prove that anything that they're doing is necessarily objectively true in any way. But from the outside, observing money, because to me, money, and this is maybe getting off on a tangent, but to me, money, it's energy. It's stored energy. When you actually have to invest your time and your effort into anything in order to get money in return, and then you spend that money on things that you need, that you think are equivalent exchange of, here's this pain in the ass that I went through, and I'll do it for this thing. Like, money does objectively represent like stored power, and some people can amass it in ways where they don't personally have to make all that money, but they're in control of it. But I think objectively, money represents energy within a system, and that once you have a system that has energy in it, you can measure the different patterns. You can measure frequencies and charts and things like that, at least more so than even like the astrology that we're discussing. But like that, because it's an actual quantitative value that you can make measurements on and have discussions where it's like, yeah, this amount of money was in this area and it's got siphoned to this place, and then you can debate over why. Like, why did that thing happen? But objectively, it did happen.
Are we
She
still talking
definitely
about
has amazing
Lil
muscles.
UTI and her rap career, or are we on to something different?
She healed the UTI with magic. It wasn't a bath. It was magic.
No, I'm saying Lil UTI would be her stage name.
Lil UTI, that is exactly.
Little UD.
Are Gemini
Marcus
so
has-
low on this that they don't even register?
Are you going to agree with this list here that Marcus has pulled up, Noah?
Kids.
What's on the list? What's going on here?
The top of the list in terms of ranking the men and
Of how
women and
good
their
people
sun
are
sign.
according to their sign.
I mean, this is based on sun sign astrology, which isn't looking at everything else in the chart, and based on the rest of the chart, the sun might not even be the most important thing in the chart. So I mean, they're always cheap. It's pop, share it. It's gonna get views. You're gonna get ad revenue, whatever. I don't know. Mexican friend discusses well-being, an emotional person, but very faithful. I mean, I'm not even going to comment on it. There's just nothing to comment.
No
on.
comment on the
I just want to
discriminatory
note
chart.
that
The
Gemini,
discriminatory chart, thank
Gemini's
you.
not even in the frame, right? Gemini doesn't even make it beyond 15. It looks
It's
like.
usually at the bottom, Thomas, of these
Where
lists.
all the Geminis.
Yeah,
I mean,
right down low.
That sounds
Gemini
accurate.
Gemini men, a
Gemini
loner,
men.
gets hated on because of his sign, but doesn't give a fuck.
That's true.
Is that what it
That part
says?
is true, though. That part is true because Gemini comes from the part of the year where the sun is building up to the maximum yang energy, where it's as bright as it's going to get, and it's gaining light every day. So Gemini people are the most independent people of the zodiac. They're the people that don't.
That's what the chart says. They don't give
right.
a AF.
Right. Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
loners. Okay.
Well,
so you agree that this ranking is correct? That they're the 19th ranked.
No, I didn't say that.
possible.
I didn't say that. I said the footnote was correct.
Okay.
But to be fair,
Overworked
loner
out for
is
romance.
oversimplification. Loner is oversimplification because Geminis are extremely social as well. They're able to get in and out really easily and charm people.
This is sounding like Dr. Fauci over there. Like, what is this shit with the if you have it, you have symptoms, but you can also be asymptomatic. Which what are we doing here? You can't have
now
Oh,
you can be
I don't know.
perceived as having strong to severe Sagittarius, but in fact, what you're presenting is your mild Taurus, perhaps even a Taurus moon. So we're going to, in the future, have at least an elderly blonde woman standing to my left, and a very authoritative figure to my right as we give this presentation. Thank you all for coming out. Get your shots.
So we've established that astrology is a discriminatory tool. Now we have to determine if discrimination is beneficial to society.
I like how you matter-of-factly state it. It's done so well. Can I interject too? Just because I don't want to get out of this without getting into the Barnum-Forer effect. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with this one. The Barnum is like the P.T. Barnum, but the Forer, I think it relates to this guy in 47 or 48 that he did a test on some students where he gave everybody the same exact reading, but told them that they would just got an individualized horoscope reading, and to rate each of these statements on a scale of accuracy, and that overwhelmingly people would constantly say, yeah, you totally nailed my horoscope. And then he would reveal, like, everyone just got the same test. You all just said that I nailed it, and you all got the exact same list. So it was only 13 questions. And I want to just maybe ask the questions and pose them here just to see, this is what a typical horoscope reading could sound like, but this is neutral. This is not based on any significant sign. It's made for all of these to sound like they could be ascribed to a certain sign.
Do you have I know you've got the nice glasses. Maybe do like a hat, a little background music. Do you have a crystal ball? Yeah.
I mean, the problem with the Barnum.
Yes.
Forum,
Give us your reading. Give us your reading, Thomas.
The Barnum Forum doesn't disprove astrology. It just proves confirmation bias.
Wait, are crystal balls better than crystals with angles on them?
There you go. Oh, who's a crystal rubber now? Oh my goodness!
I already told you I have a crystal in my pocket, and I'm happy to see you.
And I agree with you, Noah. I think that all this proves is confirmation bias, but it also proves that most people don't really know the difference between true astrology or a true horoscope reading and their own confirmation bias. So 100%. The fact that that exists, it's a murky area. So the first question on this survey: you have a great need for other people to like and admire you.
Now put your hat on while you're giving this reading, Thomas.
Okay. You have a great need for other people to like and admire you. Right? This is just true for anyone that reads that statement.
Yeah.
You have a tendency to be critical of yourself. You have a great deal of...
That's not true of everybody, though. That one, they might think they are, but...
Well, what's the difference? If you can get someone to... You have a great deal of unused capacity, which you have not turned to your advantage. So basically, you haven't reached the end of your lifespan. I guess if you said this is on someone's deathbed, you might get different answers on these, but these were a bunch of college kids. While you have some personality weaknesses, you are generally able to compensate for them with every other human being on the planet. Again,
you're an asshole, but everybody likes you anyways.
A lot of people would say no to that one, though. A lot of people are aware they just can't cope.
I mean, statistically, based on this particular exam,
Yeah.
on average, students rated accuracy at 4.3 out of a scale of 1 to 5. So when you say most people would, well, the actual research on this particular effect and these exact questions.
To be fair, it was students who were in college trying to succeed, right? Compared to people who didn't go to college and who.
Right, and all it is, it just shows how gullible
college
people
are
can be.
not trying to succeed.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is in terms of self-perception. You know, like young kids who decided to go to college and who were in class answering that question are more likely to think that I can't even remember what the question was now.
So the question is, are people who go to college more fearful of failure?
Well, maybe. But whereas there's a lot of people who wouldn't have gone to college who, I mean, to go to college in the first place, you have to have that youthful belief that you can succeed, right? That there's a potential to succeed, whereas a lot of people don't even believe that they can succeed. So
or if you have to unlock.
Maybe they're smarter and they wouldn't waste their money going to college. But anyways,
that's true.
So we've just solved it. We're all in agreement.
I think we've been in
agreement.
agreement.
We win. We all won. Everyone wins the battle royal.
Everybody wins.
So where is chat at? We had what is the rubric? 0, 5 is neutral. 10. Are you more likely to be accepting of the astrological arts in your life? 10.
Depends on whether
or
they got
0 is you reject it.
Osmosis. I will infect you and take over your brain.
I'd like to know the chance of anyone being swayed even 1 point in either direction throughout the course of this, or if it was just an absolute flaccid nothing.
That is the true metric of a debate is when you look at the audience at the beginning and then you look at the audience at the end and you see what the sway was.
I feel like I usually have the best luck with 4s and 6s, right? Not in just the real world, but I mean in like when you're trying to get someone off the fence. If they're already a little bit over the fence one way or the other, I can at least pull them back onto the fence. I feel like that might be my biggest strength is I can like make you re-question it, but not necessarily convince you from a 6 to a 4. But I can get you from a 4 to a 5 or from a 5 to a 6.
I want to address and then give Noah a chance to address. There's been a lot of chatter about the 13-month with the 28-day weeks, which I do have to say is a red herring because the moon doesn't cycle 28 days. That's not how it works. And so that whole thing is just like a trope on the internet for some reason. It's not actually a 28-day cycle.
Okay, there's potent stuff there though, because the moon circles the earth in 27 days. Okay, the nakshatras are the lunar mansions in Vedic astrology, where the motion of the moon every day across the stars has its own god that rules it and its own meanings, and so it ties in the meanings of the stars more directly. Okay, that's important. So that's a 27-day month. The actual Soli lunar month is 29 days. Okay, and so we get 12 full lunation cycles a year. It's a little bit more than 12, but it's 12 full new to new moons again. Okay, so it's if you go to the 29-day cycle, that's what that is. But if the halfway point between the lunar cycle and the synodic cycle of the moon is 28. So it's like a midpoint, right? Like there's something to it.
Well, none of them have the precision that a person's looking for that ends up taking out the need for some type of corrective days, like a leap year, like the leap year, or the some of them have like the 5 dead days, things like that, depending on which calendar you're looking at. Some of the older calendars had like entire months, like winter was blocked out. They didn't even count winter. Winter just wasn't we don't count that. No, we don't.
There was a correction, right? Where like 1 year they just skipped like an entire month or like a group of days collectively in order
Yeah.
to make the calendar start working again.
Yeah, they're like, this doesn't exist. We're out of time.
Yeah, we just need to jump from here to here.
Yeah.
So, how does an astrological reading work with someone who's born during a daylight savings time hour period where this clock goes forward or backwards?
Oh my god, it's such a it's a can of worms, man. I've had to go deep research into actual regions back in time for when they actually misaligned. Like, because it's not all they didn't all go to daylight savings at the same time. It's a bane of our existence. Trust me. I've had to like go back and look at like legal records.
Well, it's funny because it's only something that people have a problem with now, because everybody lives with electricity and with where daylight doesn't really matter to people. They don't live by daylight anymore. When you lived by daylight like I do, I understand daylight savings time. In the winter, when I get up in the morning to go, the sun is what wakes the farm up. That's just how farms work. We all know that. In the winter, that'll start happening later and later, to the point where now I can't go into town. I can't get other chores done because I'm doing my farm chores in the middle of the fucking day. And so when they roll that back, it makes it so you're able to do industry, do trade, things like that. And as short as 80 years ago, like 90% of Americans farmed in some capacity, at least subsistency farming.
Sure. I mean, it's obnoxious that you change what the number means. I mean, why can't we just shift our businesses to start at an earlier hour or later hour? I mean, I find it insane, but whatever.
Like I said, it is insane if you're living where the sun doesn't matter. But as soon as you start living by the sun.
No, my point is, if we were living by the sun, we would use planetary hours. And the time that the sun rose would change by a couple minutes every day. You know what I mean? That's how we would align our time. That's real time, where there's a planetary hour.
But you still do town business during daylight hours. That's just how that works.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's just whatever. It is what it is. Well, I mean, you want to wake up earlier, you wake up with the sun, you know?
There are some park signs that state that the park is open while there's daylight. So if there's no daylight, the park is closed. You can't park a vehicle in the lot, that type of thing. What we struggle with is the record keeping aspect of having computer records and then having two times. So now you have like a 25-hour day versus a 23-hour day in the records. So you've just lost an entire hour. Well, how do you keep track of that?
There are records for when a township changed, and they didn't all change at the same time, based on where you are in the world.
Yeah, Arizona still hasn't changed. Arizona doesn't do time changes.
Saskatchewan in Canada hasn't changed. Yeah, so some places haven't changed. It's out there. And I mean, depending on some programs that you use are more diligent about it than others. It's a lot of research to get it right. But yeah, no, I've dealt with it with someone in my life who I had the wrong time, and then I dug into it and figured out the proper time, and then their chart made more sense, right? Something was bugging me about her chart, and I realized that her township was like a holdout on when they actually changed to daylight savings.
Here's where does the leap day fit on hypothetical? Sorry, go ahead, Marcus.
Where does the leap day fit on the what's your sun sign question? The leap day.
It's irrelevant because you're looking at where the sun actually is based on the boundaries. It's equal divisions between the solstices and the equinoxes. So it's all. It's
is that
space,
usually
right?
in February or March?
But I mean, if 1 hour will make as much difference as what the story you just explained would be, how would fucking up an entire day not change?
No, because you're looking at where everything is at that specific point in time. So the leap year, the leap day, your day is already included in how you would make your calculation. Like you're aware that leap year day is there, right? Like it's not like you just skip a whole day in your calculation for where the sun is and where the planets are. You see what I'm saying? It's already included. Like we know that's how it's done.
Let me just lob maybe a fun hypothetical. I don't think there's even like a right or wrong question about this one. if you are born on the moon, how would you do a star chart for that person?
We'd have to live it and we'd have to study it and see how that worked. But no one's getting off the planet. That's not a thing. Space travel's safe. So don't worry about it.
Is it better to be born at the South Pole or the North Pole?
Well, even let me answer that.
You take it, Thomas. You take that one.
You can have that one.
That was great, Thomas. I got a question, but that one's fucked up. Go ahead and answer that fucked up one.
What if you were in orbit? Let's just assume that you can be in orbit at least, or even suborbit. But you're up there and you've got a baby that's crowning for like a 9-hour delivery, right? So technically, you couldn't. I don't think you could really pinpoint geographically where were they when that baby was really born, because far away enough, it's rotating quick enough that you'd be moving like a few different GPS minutes away. So like, how would you again, hypothetically, this isn't like a right or wrong question. So let's say I told you, I had a 9-hour birth, I had it in like a Virgin Galactic, Katy Perry was there, and like here's the general area I was at while I was crowning for 9 hours. How would you even approach that?
Is the answer that child does not have a soul? They're not ensouled.
It's a reverse moon child.
That is probably a fact. Katy Perry has eaten that child's soul.
Well, we take the natal chart from the moment of first breath, which already you guys have been asking about that. So often, the birth time is maybe a minute or two later than what we think, right? So it's the first independent action the baby takes. They inhale the universe into.
So when they crash, so when the doctor smacks them, that's when they're a real boy.
Yep.
I'm a real boy.
That's it. So you wouldn't worry about the labor, although there's stories to be told within the chart about the labor and stuff like that. That's a different thing. You would take the natal chart the moment that they were born, the breath. So within this hypothetical, if it's possible to even be born in space, you would take the longitude and latitude extended from the Earth.
Can you imagine the fluids flying everywhere in space in a birth? Oh, gross.
That's why they make those straws, those special space straws.
Yeah.
Magic of birth. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Come on.
Yeah, beautiful.
Not if you're in charge of the straw.
All the fluids start coming out, and you're like, oh, yeah, this is.
Come on. There were communes who used to cook the placenta and eat it as a communal thing. Come on.
Not in zero gravity.
Yeah, well, communes will make it to space eventually. Come on. We'll get there.
Genetic.
I could make
birth
the case
to a vacuum.
We probably should be eating
right
the
into
placenta.
it.
You could make that case. Especially when you look at the reactions from animals, like when the mother eats the placenta, that transfers into the breast milk. And they say like the placenta has the programming for like every disease that their entire bloodline has ever experienced and how to fight it and things like that. So a person can make the case, but not in space. No,
I mean, also, if we're going to talk about that, I mean, the placenta should remain attached to the baby as long as possible.
Yeah, for at least 10 minutes or something like that. Because
I'm still wearing mine right now.
That's why you're so powerful. That's why I can't beat you tonight. Oh my goodness, it's his placenta. I think it's actually a twin brother.
People used to make fun of me and say it was like a colostomy bag, and they don't know it's actually a placenta. I've never actually disclosed that before.
My goodness, it's all coming out now. I should have known when I looked at your natal chart.
I'm curious. Another hypothetical, or maybe this isn't even a hypothetical. This question: if you have what do they call it, like a cannibalistic birth, or like when one of the embryos absorbs the other embryo, would that affect a natal chart whatsoever, or is it now like, do you represent two different people? Has that even come
you were a twin and you ate your other twin?
Yeah, like, so I've looked at I've done deep research on Elvis's chart and Philip K. Dick's chart. Both were born with twins who died early in life and affected them deeply. Like the sign of Gemini directly is a symbol of twins, right? And so you can see what Gemini is doing in their chart, and you can start to get information about that. So, and apparently, like, most of us were born with twins. That's something that's like sort of like obscure research that most impregnations are more than one person, and the dominant one absorbs the other one. I mean, I don't know that much about it. I haven't researched it that much, but
there can be only one.
Totally. Well, like maybe there's information there. If you look at the sign of Gemini, you could find information about that. Or the third house too is your siblings. So there might be specific information if it actually affects us as we go through life that we absorb this twin. Maybe. I mean, if it has an effect on our life, it's gonna have an effect on the chart.
Could there be any astrological importance of like a day you get baptized and you get dunked and you come back up and you take that breath for the first time is like
I think we've talked about this before, which is there's the possibility because there are secret society rituals where you form a new natal chart, and that the entire purpose of the baptism is that it would have been like an astrologically elected new natal chart. And the whole idea of being born again is you're actually dunked. You have a near-death experience because they'd be like 5 minutes underwater, right? That's the initial baptism. It's not spritz water on the head. And then you come up, and then that's your new natal chart, and you've abolished your evil destiny, your evil fate from your original chart. So there are people that believe that. Yes, 100%.
So the baptism requires you to flatline?
Well, there's a possibility that was the initial ritual.
Okay.
There's some
flatliners. Yeah, we're talking about flatliners right now.
Not the remake, the original.
Yeah, which would be a religious experience, right? You have a near-death experience. That's a potent religious experience.
Do you give any credibility to that? That you can like wipe clean your original natal chart and install a new one?
So this is basically what fentanyl junkies are doing when they fucking taking a fentanyl.
I'm just hoping to
take the Narcan and it brings them back, and then they
is there like an astrologically better time to give somebody Narcan? You're like, hold on, we got to give it another 20 minutes. We don't want to screw this guy's life.
Yeah, this is a bad time right now. Bad time.
Well, hypothetically, if you were doing an astrologically elected rebirthing ritual, you're choosing a better chart, a better time to improve your destiny. If you're overdosing on a drug, you're not astrologically electing it, probably.
How do you know?
Well, maybe there are. I don't know. Maybe there's a ritual. Well,
I only like to do my Fenny in a Mercury retrograde where the Taurus is rising and the sun is on my taint.
Okay. Well, at least you didn't put Virgo or Gemini on the rising sign while Mercury was retrograde. So I'll give you that. But point being, if you weren't doing it consciously to do some kind of like resurrection ritual with a drug that kills you, you're probably going to get a worse chart. If this is, I mean, we're going hypothetical. I don't know. I don't know.
What about these guys that do that like 6 times?
Well, they would keep like re-engineering the chart. By the way, I don't believe there's anything you can do to get away from your natal chart. You're going to live your natal chart no matter what. The better thing is to get peace within your inner self and just accept reality, and then you can transcend your chart in certain ways.
Okay, so to have a baptism, you don't think has any impact on your original natal chart. You can't escape that.
Okay, so there's so many layers to that. First off, if it's a real ritual that has deep importance, maybe it is an overlay on your natal chart that creates this other. So first off, it's going to be an important transit for you. If it's important to you, then it's an important transit chart. And any transit chart is going to affect how your chart moves forward in the future. Okay, how you react to that transit chart is going to change what your chart is doing. Okay, and like maybe it's a chart that's so important, a formational chart for you. Just like you get married, the marriage chart is going to be almost like a new natal chart for you, because now if you're going to live with someone else and share your life with someone else, the chart of that moment is going to be not necessarily as important as your natal chart, but it's going to be a modifier to your natal chart in everything you do, right? So the baptism could be seen that way for sure.
Do you think astrology has any impact on someone after they've died, or is it only relevant while you're alive?
It does. People who have like prominent artists and stuff, there's a lot of research into important transits showing when, like a novelist, 100 years after they die, a really famous movie gets made of their work, and you can see a really prominent transit in their chart.
If we're saying that this like baptism, if it's serious and it's real or whatever, then this could be like a transitory point that alters their normal natal chart in some qualitative way, and that that astrology can also affect somebody after they're dead, does this mean that when the Mormons baptize someone posthumously, that they can affect that person's astrological path after they've died? Because it's technically like another baptism, which I feel like would still fit into this criteria of a transitory point.
Like hypothetically, maybe. Like, I mean, I can't speak to it. I'm not a Mormon. You know what I mean? Like, it's a.
What do you need to know? I'll answer for a Mormon right now. Any question you got?
Do you have your magic underwear on?
By the way, for anyone watching, if you're really paying attention, when there was a joke I really didn't want to say earlier in the episode, go back.
What about the 2 tacos?
This relates to it. That's all I'm saying. All right. Anyways, sorry. What was the question?
I asked Thomas.
Time travel. You're talking about time travel astrology, time travel humor. Anyways, don't worry about it.
I asked Thomas if he's wearing his magic underwear in order to properly answer Mormon questions.
I mean, technically, all magic underwear is just a Masonic symbol touching your skin. So, I mean, here.
Oh my goodness. There you
Done.
go. Yeah, but you're not sitting on it.
Well, I would never. I would never. Are you kidding me?
You're an actual Mason. Shouldn't you have like a cod piece with like a giant, fucking compass and fucking square, like like
we needed our managers here tonight in order to come out fully dressed like that. And like I said, Longo had other things going on, but he guaranteed me that he'd come on here and act as my manager at one of these.
Make sure you don't eat too many barbecues.
All right. Hey, how long is this going on for? I have no idea what the plan is here.
Well,
we were going to end it
to stay about 2 hours, and then we fuck around for an undeterminate amount of time afterwards.
We expected you to have the chart ready and that you would just leave at the optimal point.
Yeah.
Listen, I've been dealing with. I don't try to elect other people's shows, so I just let it play.
This is on you, man. This is your personal destiny and your chart.
There you go.
Your stage entrance and exit.
There you go.
Are you not supposed to be omniscient over here?
God no. No.
I think you held your own fairly well. Honestly, I feel too that we might be in agreement that it's more of a subjective art and it's not a science. Like it sounds like you agree that it is a pseudoscience, not in a derogatory way, but in a way that can't be measured by someone that's looking through the same Rockefeller system lens, right? Is that ultimately a position that you'd agree with?
Somewhat, yeah, sort of. But I mean, it's like there's enough data points that it becomes chaos science, right? Like you can't compute all of it. So there needs to be mysticism in order to glean relevant information from it.
The chat is asking you to pimp yourself, sir, which normally we would have done at the beginning, but you guys came out swinging right out the gate. So would you please pimp yourself?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to promote myself to your audience. I'm not sure.
They're all 7s and 10s, man, the whole time.
I'm joking. Listen, I got a Patreon page, Facing North Astrology on Patreon. If you want to go there, I'll do chart stuff for you over messages and stuff through the Patreon. If you want to book a reading, get at me. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I have a YouTube page, Facing North. Just Facing North Astrology. You'll find me around. That's it. But the Patreons. I also have a blogspot, Facing North Astrology at blogspot.com. I got some deep articles there if you want to dig in.
Oh, and sometimes you pop in on Think Tanks, either on Tuesdays or usually on Sundays now. But we do show on Sundays around like 3:00. If
Think
we
Tank
feel
has
like
trained me that you can't astrologically elect shows because they happen when Andreas floats down from the clouds. Yeah, love it. Think Tank's the best. But yeah, that's it.
Very good. Well, we appreciate you debating. It was a fantastic debate, a lot of fun. Thank you for setting this up, Thomas. And you can feel free to hang out. If not, if you want to go. It's we appreciate your time.
Yeah. I got to take off, but this was fun, guys. You guys had some good questions, and that was great. That was great. I like Alan's pinpoint precision, getting his point in there. This from a little angle. I see what you were doing. I like it. I appreciate it. All right.
Nice.
Okay, I'm gonna peace out. This was fun, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Noah.
Thank you.
Great
Noah.
stream.
Take care.
So I'm not long for this world either. I'll give you guys like another 7 minutes or so.
Oh,
7 minutes.
Maybe let
That
people
felt
know
like the
that.
astrologically appropriate numeral.
Yeah, we should let people know that AlanMarcus.com and ParanoidAmerican.com did do a meeting of the minds that is available as a free stream that people can see. What episode?
It's free now.
number is
Yep.
that?
I
Okay.
think you can go and watch it right now.
Okay. So we will direct people to search
almost
for
positive.
that. Okay.
It was a classic Marcus interview.
Do you have any follow-up questions while you got me here? I haven't read
Not
the
one that I
comments
think we'd ever get the answer to in like a timely manner. No.
Do you believe you got an answer to anything?
I feel that I was able to, if not wrangle the cat, I was able to influence the cat on like the left side of the street versus the right side of the street. Is that fair? Did you feel that?
That's fair. That's fair.
In my defense,
And the best
not that I'm
anybody
on
ever
the
does.
defense, but I wanted to provide more context to the situation.
I appreciate it, man. I know there was a couple comments that you evoke strong feelings from people, even with your delivery itself, and I like that. That's my favorite part.
I did have to take concrete stances, even though the language might seem like I'm explaining things and not taking personal responsibility and answer. But it's one of those situations where I had to explain that I was attempting to remain as objective as possible, and taking an objective stance, I think, is kind of a more concrete position than say, well, I don't know, it could be this or that, could be that. I was stating in terms of when it comes to the arts and sciences and the subjective realm of personal experience and synchronicity and all these things, the way to remain sober and rational and grounded is to remain, I won't use the word skeptical, but the position is, I don't know, I need more information to continue to go along the search. So in that way, I was attempting to avoid the sort of bias of having a memory. So like my point was that time being fluid, like the past, the present, the future, it's sort of a fluid thing. And my very conversation with Thomas at that moment was having an effect on the past, and yet there's still another reckoning in the future. So I was saying the paint hasn't dried yet. It was kind of my metaphor to say that my position is the paint isn't dry, the art isn't finished, and there's still more exploring to be done on this topic.
Well, I would hope so, man, because it feels like something that we can keep doing. I do want to just cherry pick one of the most complimentary comments out of that thread.
Okay.
To me, not necessarily to you. It said, "Very good job interviewing a vain attempt to minimize the word salad of an incel guest whose development was destroyed by video games."
Yeah, I commented under that one myself.
Wow.
And all I want to say though,
from the commenter,
can I just say that hate is not the opposite of love? That hate is an analog to love because they both require some level of interest and passion. So just the fact that you could elicit such a reaction from longtime supporter, by the way, not just like a random passerby, a longtime supporter to Paranoid American, but that you can evoke strong feelings in someone. I strong, and I'm not even trolling. I really believe that if you make a painting that someone walks by and they're like, "Oh, I hate this painting so much. I can't believe this exists. I need to find out who made this painting. I'm angry right now." That is a better reaction that someone walks by and they don't even realize that they just walked by a painting.
I would 100% agree with what you're saying, but that shows how it is a polarity. It is the opposite of love. That strong reaction only exists in that particular polarity. And I agree that you want that polarity to be the one that affects people in a very Howard Stern-esque way, where, you know, back in the day where it's how long do people that like him listen? Half an hour. How long do people that hate him listen? An hour. You know, so 100% you want it to be on that and not on the bland, lukewarm, I don't really care one way or the other. You want them to very much care, but that shows you that that's a polarity.
And I understand that not everyone is going to listen from beginning to end before leaving a comment. And specifically in the realm of the word salad, I was specifically attempting to address that by stating, I don't have the full vocabulary to explain all of this. So in my attempts to find the vocabulary, I found a key phrase, but that key phrase itself doesn't really apply to the situation because it was found in translation and it wasn't the original author's intent. So when Carl Jung wrote Memories, Dreams, Reflections, it was a translator that created a new phrase that I had found, that I had done research on. And I was trying to determine if Carl Jung had used the explicit terminology for the catalyzation exteriorization phenomenon. But that
I
was
would like to
something-
see Marcus in a police interrogation.
on the witness stand or being
and anywhere like that. Both
trial.
Yeah, both lawyers would just give up and leave. Like, I'm not asking anything else. I'm not. I'm more confused now than I started. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I don't even understand words anymore. I'm leaving.
The jury's accusing each other of maybe they did it. Maybe we all did it. Maybe we're all part of this.
Is this just part of the world? Do I even understand what's going on right now?
Memories, Dreams, Reflections, man.
Well, let me slowly segue myself out of this too, and tell people to go and watch the 2 interviews with Marcus. And I believe that if you were to combine both of them, we're around like 5 hours, maybe even bordering on like 6 hours between the 2. So if you want to listen to me and Marcus talk for close to 6 hours, go to Paranoid American on YouTube or go and listen to the podcast, Paranoid American Podcast. And I got a whole bunch of other, aside from interviews I do with people, I got a series called Under the Docks where we watch classic conspiracy documentaries and kind of rate them. I got Occult Disney where we break down Disney movies. I do Secret Society of Good Guys on Friday nights at midnight with Cheney, Layla, and Abby. I also have a new one called Cartoon Cabal that I'm doing on Sundays or Saturdays where we watch old cartoons and kind of give them the same Occult Disney treatment.
Oh man, some of the old cartoons are fucking rough.
Right now we're going through Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is an anime series I'd never seen before that's supposed to have all sorts of occult connotations. But after we get through that, we're going to start cherry picking like Beavis and Butthead and The Head and Aeon Flux and Garfield and Heathcliff. We're going to kind of just like jump around and pick out, like, for example, there's that really specific episode of DuckTales called Yuppie Ducks. And it's the one that says "Ask about Illuminati" in the background. Like we're
I've seen that.
Have you seen the Darkwing Duck episode that references Twin Peaks?
No. See, that's another one that's gonna have to make the list.
Put it on the list.
Ren and Stimpy has some real fucked up shit in it. If you go back and watch that.
Right now the list is a little over 100 episodes, so it's gonna be plenty of fodder for the coming years. It seems like.
Yeah, the things that they do to twist kids' minds, and that's what's really wild about that is, and especially for my generation, I'm pretty sure I'm the oldest one here. I was at the beginning of the latchkey kid generation, and they really did have parents basically trained where the TV was your babysitter. Like, there was a substantial age. It wasn't like it is today, where you keep going to a babysitter till you're like 15. Right?
I think that's actually preferable to what we have now, because at least if everyone was being babysat by the latest Disney movie, then you go to school the next year and you've got this commonality with everybody else in the school. Even the bullies that you hate, their parents made them go and watch Little Mermaid at some point, or like they had to sit down and have it. So there was that commonality that even if we were as far apart as we possibly could be, we were programmed by the same Disney programming. And now that's gone now in 2025. Now 25 kids sit down in the room. They've got their own TikTok algorithms and they're consuming completely different media. And they don't even have that corporate mind control instilled commonality. And I would almost argue, even if it's bad, even if it's a toxic thing to begin with, it's still better because it provides a sense of community, however artificial and like aspartame riddled it might be.
Right. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. When you were a kid, especially when I was a kid, there was only two, really two stations that most of us got. And, whatever show was cool, like Airwolf or something, did you watch Airwolf last night? Fuck yeah. 100%.
And shout out to my Cherie in the comments as always. She's always in the coolest places. Thank you so much.
She's the shit.
She is the shit. All right, any parting questions for me before I let you guys get real wild? You can bring out like the second round of parties. Is this like a Bryan Singer Hollywood party? Like after the party ends at 10, the real party starts?
That's when the drugs get and the drugs and hookers show up.
Okay.
Yeah, we should let people know that if the stream ends on X and people are watching on X and they want to continue watching, it's going to be on YouTube on Balderson's channel. So
yeah, good call. Go and look at the description, and if you're on my Twitter, go and look for Deliberating Dogface Dudes or Ben Balderson on YouTube.
And we'll be here making assholes out of ourselves.
I like it. All right, thank you guys for hosting this. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Thomas.
YouTube.com/Benjamin Balderson if people are looking for where the show's continuing.
And anytime.
Great stream.
That was fun. Appreciate Thomas bringing that to the table. That was a good time.
That was good.
Keep it streaming. So I think I'm going to end it over on the Dogface Dudes YouTube channel.
Good night, Dogface Dude viewers.
Good night.
But anybody missed it this last week? I was on with what's up, Sarah G? I was on